You are watching the Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. Woo!
Welcome to Taco Tuesday! Who wants a taco? You ready to eat some tacos, bro? You ready to eat some tacos, bro? All right, everyone. Act normal. Perfect.
Oh my God! It's Taco Tuesday!
I don't feel it's my place to tell people how much they should drink.
And there are ants in my whiskey.
They add flavor, Kira. Is that
man,
like the worm in tequila?
Have you seen my whiskey ants anywhere?
That's okay. That's okay. The show will go on, everybody.
Speaking of inflatable meat wads.
A happy Taco Tuesday.
Hit it. That's good.
Greetings, Chicago and everyone else on planet Earth. My name is Deep Dish Pizza enthusiast Edward Heller, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Chicago Corner, often featuring tacos. But not tonight, because today is National Eat a Peach Day. I didn't purchase any peaches, so I'm just going to have to show this photo to you and enjoy how juicy and ripe those peaches look. And maybe I'll get some later, and I'm hoping you'll do the same before midnight, because you know that after midnight, if you feed people peaches, they turn into gremlins or something. No, wait, that's not how it goes. Joining me this evening is Mr. Jerry Vassilatos. Happy National Eat a Peach Day, Jerry.
I'm really glad there's never any innuendos associated with peaches.
Yeah, no,
Especially
none
juicy ripe peaches.
Yes,
as you've shared with us on screen there.
it's actually, I think that's a great. It's a great album by the Allman Brothers too, if I remember correctly. Peach.
Before we went on, I was noticing in the live chat, there's a little bit of a wait before the show. Kathy asked, are we waiting for Jerry? You know, Kathy, that demands the question, am I not worth waiting for?
I think he is.
No, it wasn't because of me, Kathy. It's because we needed to get the show notes up. Things ran a little bit late, but we also waited for our audience to build up in anticipation of the show.
Some of you, I mean, we sometimes talk about how the sausage is made in this place, and I'm not talking about like the sausage that I'm putting on pizza. I'm talking about the show. And a lot of times, you know, it'll be me gathering stories during the week, but I have a 9-to-5 job, and sometimes we get busy there, and I don't always have the time I'd like to have especially the day before or the day of the show, because those are usually the days where I'm compiling most of that stuff to prepare for Tuesday's show.
We're also waiting on news. I mean, sometimes we've got slow news days, and we're pecking around trying to find stuff that'd be interesting to talk about. Otherwise, we're left talking about food.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind talking about
teasing.
Speaking of food, I was telling everybody in the chat before we went live. I said tonight I am powered by caffeine and those candy orange slices. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's these things. See, they said,
caffeine and sugar, a winning fuel source.
Yeah, not the healthiest option this evening, but I didn't feel like preparing like a proper meal tonight. I usually do though. So it's going to be a fun show. Well, I have my ebbs and flows with my blood sugar and everything tonight, but it'll be interesting. So I want to welcome everybody in the live chat. I see Uncle Warren from Extra Bulla and The Secret Show and Mundus Ultra. Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on.
We had a good time with him and Jimmy on, and also Willie Bragg on Saturday night. Their Secret Show, we got invited for their big 69th episode. We'll leave that to your imaginations as far as what some of the chatter was there.
I don't even know how I stayed up that late, although I think at some point in the evening I was abducted by aliens.
You're always abducted by aliens.
And that was, I was told after the show that that's what happened. That remember that Chuck the alien guy came on and started talking about stuff. I'm like, what? Did everything just taste purple for a second? Anyway, so yeah, Uncle Warren, good to see you. E. Heller, I don't know who that guy is. Kathy Powers, thanks for joining us. Yes, we're worth the wait. Who else is in the chat? Oh, Kira. Kira's watching. Hello, Kira.
Hey, Kira.
Hey, Kira.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. She's got a toddler and a toddler in training now.
Can I drink a toast to Kira? I'm gonna drink a toast to Kira's return.
Okay.
So give me a moment. I've got my old reliable here. Of course, I can't drink it straight. I got it with something. We have cherry Coke, so we're gonna do
cherry Coke. Okay.
Cocktail. Let's have a cocktail.
Fancy with the cherry Coke.
In a very, very special cocktail toasting glass.
The lasers make it extra special.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Kira. Yes. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And cheers to Ed. But yeah, hopefully if any of our hate watchers tune in, they'll see how we monetized. We monetize or trying to monetize.
Yes. Welcome to all of our hate watchers. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Trying to monetize my doppelganger's phony account.
Become a Patreon supporter so you can hate watch us longer.
Oh, I'm glad to see that, Kira. I sent Kira some Batman onesies, and she sent me this adorable picture of him wearing one. I think it was maybe about a month ago, and I think it was a set of 6. So keep the pictures coming, Kira, and we'll share them on the show if you want us to.
Oh, she's threatening to come back on too.
Oh, we've been waiting. For
Kira, months. You're always welcome to just bust in and take the show over. In the middle of the show and say, "Hey guys, okay, I'm taking over for the rest of the show, and you guys can just sit back and relax." And I'll be okay, cool.
By the way, these are available in our merch shop.
Yes,
along with T-shirts, coffee mugs. We have the special Oreo Stream Cat coffee mug. I don't have one here, right? Actually, there's one in the kitchen, but we've got those. And if you want to drink a toast to our hate watchers, get one of the Jerry Doppelganger with evil Oreo minion cocktail pint glass.
Yeah, well, I can't really. I don't know if he's actually evil. He's just got laser eyes.
No, he's not evil. I'm the one. He's the minion. I misspoke. But cats were often associated with witches as being their minions. But I think that's like a little discriminatory. I think that they should be they should be allowed to be minions for males as well. I think that minions should be companions that are not based on gender, if we're going to be equal about things.
Yeah. So I'm just, I'm trying to do this show a little more relaxed than I usually do. I always feel like I'm rushing through this, and I'm like, what? We don't have to rush through this. We got some stories to talk about, but we can just talk. And I think that's good for us and good for the people in the live chat, because that gives us a chance to hear from you. If you guys got something going on, anything you want us to have our radar on that we're not talking about, maybe we can look into that stuff and either talk about it on another show, or if it's something easy for us to address, we can talk about it tonight. But what else is going on tonight? Well, we got here's the thing that always happens when the weather gets crazy is the news organizations freak out about the heat, and actually it is kind of serious.
It is pretty. I went out briefly today, and it was miserable.
Yeah, but here's CBS2 talking about it just a little earlier tonight.
You never know. We are swimming upstream in the temperature department, though, tomorrow.
Yeah, heat wave. Fixating in high gear tomorrow, Wednesday. Incredible amounts of heat and humidity that will lead to some places that may exceed 115 for the feel-like temperature. So let's break this down with what we're tracking. Tomorrow, we really start to warm things up, but tomorrow's not the dangerous heat day unless you live out towards the west and southwest. That's where there's potential for heat exceeds up to 105. It's Wednesday when we have highs in the upper 90s to near 100, high amounts of moisture in the atmosphere. And we're talking about heat indices across the area from 105 here in the city to as high as 115 degrees to the.
So the plural of index is indices. Indices is your word of the day.
Thank you, Bill Curtis.
Yeah, it's going to feel really hot in Chicago, mostly because of, the humidity that we get here, But it's not going to be a great couple days to be outside, and it's I always tell you guys to stay hydrated, drink plenty of fluids.
This is for Kira.
Magic 8 Ball.
I don't know. She just put a Magic 8 Ball in the live chat. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but what do we ask it though?
I got one here in case we ever need to get an answer from the Magic.
We should ask the live chat if you have questions for the Magic 8 Ball.
I bought it specifically as a prop for this program.
Yeah, Uncle Warren is anxious to have Kira come back on the show. He says, "No offense, but I'm tired of this sausage fest."
Take a number, Warren.
Yeah, we are too. We like to get a little more variety in our show hosts on this channel. A little more, well,
not just variety, eye candy.
Yeah, I mean, there is me, but still.
That's true. How could I overlook that?
Yeah. So anyway, so it's going to be hot.
West and south of Chicago. And again, some places may even exceed that. And then Thursday, we're hanging on to the heat, and then we'll see some cooler air move in by Thursday evening. And that will set us up for a cooler weather pattern as we head into Friday and also this weekend. So because we have some big time heat coming, let's talk about the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Now, heat exhaustion, you're faint, you're dizzy, a lot of sweating, you have cool, pale, clammy skin, muscle cramps. That's when you just want to cool down, get into the AC, take a cool shower. It's a different story with heat stroke, throbbing headache, no sweating because you're dehydrated. Your skin gets red and hot and dry. You have a rapid and strong pulse, may lose consciousness. That's when you got to call 911.
Yeah, so, excuse me. Yeah, the
that hit me all the way across town. Boom.
I just tasted lunch. Oh,
that was nuclear.
Yes. Did that rattle your homes?
It did. That was like a 7.5 over here.
I should try that another time. We'll have a belching contest on the program. That'll class up the joint. Yeah, I mean, it's serious, though. I mean, this heat stuff, because, look, I mean, not everybody even realizes they're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm just standing outside. I'll be, no problem. And, like, then all of a sudden, one of these things happens. You get heat exhaustion or you get heat stroke, and neither of those is a fun time.
Actually, I can show you what happens on kind of a different level. You just reminded me of a video I had on my desktop that I was saving for the program. If my screen opens up, let me go into my Chicago Corner folder. Now, this is what you all want to avoid. You want to avoid this happening. Come on, let's see how fast I can get this video up here. All right, I believe, right? Stand by for it. I'll make sure I got the right video up. Bop, 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 bop. Okay, this is the right one. We're bringing it in.
Stand by for
Although
more
this,
video.
This kind of also correlates with something that's not in the show notes, but have you heard that we're supposed to be getting another COVID wave in September?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of. Honestly, I think it's a lot of propaganda from the medical industrial complex, just wanting to get people hooked on boosters again.
Speaking of the medical industrial complex and similarly passing out the same way from heat stroke, a word from our sponsor. Is it going to play? There we go.
Any second now. Come on, man. You can do it.
Come on.
Does your computer have heat stroke?
Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer. Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer.
On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Could there be a correlation with the vaccines and the boosters? I don't know, but
Chicago Corner brought to you by P.L. Sullivan's International Chicken Wing and Currency Exchange. Behind that alley. You know the one. Yeah, see our channel, we're not sponsored by Pfizer.
No, although it seems to cause a lot of people to pass out in ways that resemble heat stroke.
It does. Yeah, let's see.
All
Let's
right.
see if they have anything more important on this video here.
And sneak up on you really quickly with the kind of heat we have in this forecast, if not heat stroke. And it's not the Midwest, the only location dealing with this extreme heat this week. We have heat alerts, heat advisories, excessive heat warnings and watches from as far south as the Houston area to as far north as the Twin Cities, and our entire area highlighted for this heat as this dome of high pressure, sinking air, compressed air heats up a lot faster with sunlight. And as that expands northward, it's going to be right on top of us on
In
Wednesday.
other words, it's going to be hot.
Just a bit Thursday, so late Thursday we get.
These weather guys have the nicest graphics.
Yeah, they do.
They really do.
And keep in mind, too, they only have to be right half the time.
That's true. This article's from the Chicago Sun-Times. How to stay safe from oppressive heat. Expected in Chicago area later this week. With high heat expected starting Tuesday, the city's cooling centers will be open. Yeah, what, all 6 of them?
Only one that's open 24 hours, according to Kathy.
And residents are advised to stay indoors and stay hydrated. Yes. Yeah, that's duh. Temperatures in Chicago area expected to soar later this week. Yeah, we already heard that. Here, let's go to the part here. These are the 6. These are the 6 centers, and it's Garfield Center at 10 South Kedzie is the one open 24 hours. If you're looking for any of these articles or video links, most of them I'm remembering to put in our show notes, which are in the description of the video you're watching. So you can always have them up in another window to follow along, or you can check on them later if you want to remember like the stuff that we talked about. They also, in this article from the Sun-Times, have a map of the cooling stations that are not those 6. So there are a few other places that you can try and find to get cool. But you can also think about, well, maybe go into a grocery store for a few minutes because they're usually pretty refrigerated.
I have a breaking news update regarding the heat wave I just found on Block Club. Chicago Public Schools is canceling outdoor sports, moves recess indoors during the heat wave.
Oh, actually, I have that.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah,
I jumped the gun.
That's fine. I was about to go into that, but I wanted to share this first from Mayor Brandon Johnson. He says, an excessive heat watch has been issued beginning Wednesday, August 23rd through 8 p.m. on Thursday, August 24th. That's tomorrow and Thursday. He's got his own thing from the city. Drink plenty of water, avoid going outside. They got a list of their city operated cooling centers at chicago.gov/OEMC, but it's just those 6. So keep electric light off or turned down. Minimize the use of your oven and stove. Wear loose, light cotton clothing. Don't leave people or pets in a closed car, even for a few minutes. Check on family, friends, and neighbors. It reminds me, keeping pets in a closed car. I used to see these internet videos where people would put a sign on the window where they would leave their car in there, but their car is running with the AC on, because I guess some of the modern cars are capable of doing that while the driver's not there. And it says, please don't bash in the window. I'm fine. My owner is running the AC or something like that, But yeah, not a good time to lock your kids or pets or animals or yourself into a hot car.
Kara says no polyester or wool. Wool is also not recommended. By the way, Ed, I apologize. That shows you I didn't have a chance to look at the show notes to see that you had.
It's okay, because half of the show notes I was adding stuff like right up to the to showtime. Really, that one was in there for maybe an hour before you actually started setting.
I put the show together,
up,
but I didn't look at the links. And the reason I jumped to Block Club was I recalled, and again, maybe I should check the notes. I don't know if you talked about Johnson handing out pizzas, which was big in social media today.
Oh, I did not. No, I didn't see that. Although I did have an update I forgot to talk about.
Well, we don't have to talk about that specifically. Okay. But as you were talking about Johnson, I went to Block Club to see if that story was there. Then I saw the CPS outdoor sports moving recess indoors, and because it was only 3 hours ago, and I didn't look at the show notes, is why I jumped the gun. So sorry about that.
That's cool. No need to apologize. We know that neither of us has the amount of time that we really want to spend doing the research ahead of time and all the background preparation. It's amazing we pull off what we do on Tuesdays and Fridays, to be honest with you. And I appreciate everyone out there who is hanging in there with us while we try to give you some quality program on this Tuesday evening. And Friday evenings. And if you do like the content we're giving you or want to support our channel, you can head over to patreon.com/Chicago Corner and become a Patreon supporter.
I also want to tease for Friday's show. May as well say it at the front end in case people drop off like flies as we get deeper in. I had an opportunity to speak at great length with someone who has been working within the Catholic Charities migrant shelters and the program in place to get migrants housed. The challenges, how the system is essentially set up for failure, and that very well-intentioned shelter workers' absolute despondency and frustration during the job regarding the fact that it's literally set up for anybody taking this job to find housing for migrants for failure. And it's not ill-intentioned either. It's just the way that the system's set up. So I'm going to be able on Friday to go to great lengths in sharing their story. I need to keep them anonymous, but I am telling you, this is a scoop, an authentic account of what is happening inside the migrant shelters as far as trying to find aid housing and support for them. So make sure to tune in Friday. I'll lead the show with that, because when I went out to dinner with this person the other night, and they really wanted to share everything that was going on, because they were just so frustrated and upset at the fact that their good intentions just weren't going to go anywhere working in the shelter, along with another associate that they were working with who quit before they did, because it's just, you got one caseworker managing 40 families, trying to find housing for 40 families. We'll talk more about it on Friday. Mm-hmm. And this is in relation to stuff I'm also seeing in the news about Johnson and not being specific about how they're going to help the migrants and the homeless. I think we're past that 100-day honeymoon period, Ed, where we might need to be a little bit more critical about what's not being done.
I kind of wanted to talk about that too.
Yep.
And I didn't have a lot of time to read the this Block Club article, to be honest with you. I saw it there. I'm like, okay, this has to do with the heat wave too. It says CPS cancels outdoor sports, moves recess indoors during heat wave. District officials also said they will make sure that air conditioning is working inside classrooms as the city prepared for temperatures near 100 degrees Wednesday and Thursday. Now, my question is, do they really have enough air conditioners for these schools? I've heard stories.
They don't have a lot of schools don't have any air conditioning yet. And you know how I know that too? I was at physical therapy yesterday for my back and went into physical therapy, and the air conditioning was out. It was 80 degrees in the physical therapy facility. And as the coworkers there were talking amongst themselves about how they should have shut the place down, a patient there said, you guys think you have it bad. There are schools throughout the city that don't have air conditioning.
Yeah. Where's my thing here? Is this the one? This is the one. Well, I'm going to leave it on this photo here, and I'm going to read the other tab. Okay. With temperatures expected to reach nearly 100 degrees Wednesday and Thursday, district is moving recess indoors and rescheduling outdoor sports games. Practices for sports teams will be moved indoors or canceled, officials wrote in an email to families Tuesday. Regular sports programs may resume Friday, according to CPS. These are just a few of the precautions CPS is taking as a heat wave is expected to hit Chicago during the first week of the school year. By the way, since it's the first week of the school year, if you guys are commuting, if you're driving around the city, take it easy on the speed right now, because not only is it for the safety of the kids crossing the street to go to school and the parents dropping off their kids, but also they got speed cameras out there that are waiting for you, and the cops are setting up speed traps. So it's just take it easy if you can. I mean, I know you're in a hurry to get to the office, but maybe just leave a few minutes early. That's my public service announcement. Okay. All classrooms are equipped with air conditioning, and officials will be working to ensure those systems are running smoothly, district officials said. School officials will also work to keep rooms cool by drawing shades, turning off lights and computers not needed for instruction, and moving students and teachers from classrooms exposed to sunlight to other cooler areas of the school. I mean, yeah, they can only do so much, though, if they don't have the amount of air conditioners that they really need for the spaces that they need to cool. Yeah. I mean, they're going to, and then I don't know how packed these schools are with students that they can just move some of them to another room. But it's just interesting that they don't seem to be proactive in making sure they've got all the resources they need. And this is just adding to the pile of what the hell is he waiting for in my head.
So when I went to Block Club to try to find that other story, I don't think this is in your show notes, but to that point, we're not going to go to the article, but Mayor Brandon Johnson promises more help for migrants and homeless, but offers few specifics along with what's up with the schools and the air conditioning and everything else, man. What's taking so long?
I saw that headline and I was like, yeah, we've been talking about that. He can't afford to continue being vague in the things he's going to do. He's got to have plans and tell you what he's doing. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is where the money's coming from to pay for it. And yeah, I understand that cities and states don't have unlimited funds like the federal government has.
Do
And
they?
so, yeah,
Don't they though? Don't they though?
they don't have unlimited funds.
Well,
they
got
do have more funds than they're letting on.
Well, they got that whole slush fund in the TIFs.
Correct.
I still wonder, like, what are they waiting? That's more money than, I mean, there's so much money in the TIF funds that they could spend. It's like, are they really just hoarding it for their own little special interest projects, or when it's easy to give to their donor cronies? I don't know. There's a lot of money there that could solve a lot of problems.
Yeah,
and I don't think that you should go through it all really, really fast. But it's there, and it's not being used where it's most urgent, in a lot of people's opinions.
I mean, I'm just kind of Tuesday evening quarterbacking here. But I mean, if I were Brandon Johnson, I would have probably a team of lawyers to comb over the city's ordinances and laws regarding the use of TIF funds and to see what's possible, because there could be some things that are saying, look, this money was collected in this TIF district specifically for funding this purpose. And so if they take the money that was collected for that and use it for a purpose other than, or not even close to or adjacent to the original purpose that they collected the money, someone may pose a legal challenge to him spending money that way. And so I understand him wanting to be careful with that, and yeah, 100 days is kind of an arbitrary number, and a lot of people want to just go, look, it's been 100 days. What have you done?
He's got the big stick in the bully pulpit. And although I do not want to see him using either the way Lori Lightweight did, you know, I think that he'd buy a little bit more street cred, being a little bit stepping up a little bit faster than he is with these things.
Yeah. So let's see if there was anybody else talking about stuff in this Block Club article. Okay.
Hey, Willie Bragg, welcome to the show. I want to say hello to Willie, who I had the opportunity
Willie
tonight to join on a panel for the first time, and it's good to see you here, Willie. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Let's see. This Block Club article also lists the 6 cooling centers. What else do they have? Oh, they got regional service centers they're listing here. They say they'll be open 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Wednesday and Thursday. And I'll flip over to that really quick. So Southeast is 1767 East 79th, Southwest 6117 South Kedzie, Central West is 2102 West Ogden, Northeast 2019 West Lawrence, Northwest 3160 North Milwaukee. Renaissance Court at 78 East Washington Street will be open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. They have satellite senior centers all over the place. Okay. You guys can look that up in the show notes. So, again, what are they doing? Why aren't they? It's like they're doing the bare minimum to try and help people stay cool here. It's like if I'm the mayor, I'm going around, I'm sending out a fleet of ice cream trucks, probably. Maybe some water tanks or something to just mist everybody down, all the pedestrians and stuff in the streets.
Open the fire hydrants.
Yeah, the fire departments might already be strategically doing that, but they got to be careful not to overdo that.
That's true, because you don't want to have a situation where there's another great Chicago fire and people are using their hoses and there's no water or water pressure like we just saw in Hawaii. Did you read that story today, man? Did you hear that story? There were people in Maui. Yeah, they were turning on their hoses to, with what little you could do to fight a fire with your hoses, no water would come out. The water was turned off, or the pressure was turned off. You tell me why people have wild conspiracy theories when it's literally everything that could go wrong went wrong because those in charge in Hawaii were either asleep at the wheel, they let it happen, or they made it happen.
Yeah. And do I not have Hinky on my video reaction thing here? That's amazing to me. It's got to be on the Friday. All right, that's fine. I was just going to say there's too many Hinky things that went on in Lahaina. and I think I mentioned it on the secret show, or me or the alien guy. Chuck might have said something about it, but like the whole thing. I mean, it screams of either taking major advantage of an emergency for some planned nefarious garbage, evil garbage, or
land grab redevelopment, redevelopment.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's looking at, because apparently all of the really rich properties were untouched by the fires. And here's the other crazy thing, and we talked about this on Warren's show also. Look, somebody made this point on social media that I thought, I never thought about that before. When you put something organic in a microwave, it heats up without catching on fire. That's the way a microwave is designed, a microwave oven. When you put a metal utensil in there, it will spark and catch on fire and burn, right? Well, you're looking at pictures of Lahaina, and you're seeing trees that are still standing while cars are literally melted aluminum everywhere. And it begs the question, wood burns, fire burns wood. How is it that there are still trees standing, organic things, and metal is melted, which, collates with the idea of a microwave will not set organic things on fire. It will warm them, while it will turn metal, it will heat it, it will burn it, it will explode it, it will melt it.
Yeah, well, and then
we're seeing stuff all over Lahaina right now.
It's that there are directed energy weapons that exist.
What people are wondering about, as far as,
and so it's not completely out of the realm of conspiratorial possibilities. And when I say conspiratorial, I don't mean that it's a theory, or particularly a false theory. I'm saying a possible theory, because we don't know what kind of evil is in this world. We just know there's a lot of it going on.
And I think we're pretty clear on the amount of evil and the kind of evil that there is. I think we're past the point of not being able to really see it out in the open anymore.
I'm just saying,
people are pissing down your
it's
neck and
Bond
telling you
villain shit is what I'm saying, Jerry. And
It's
I'm
what?
like, it's Bond villain shit,
dude. We're a country
really
run by,
live in a world with Bond villains.
Yes, we do. We do, my friend, my well-intentioned, idealistic friend. Wake up. Yeah, we do. At the highest levels of government and power, at the highest levels of security on Wall Street, at the highest levels in the drug and pharmaceutical and insurance industries. Yes, we are a world ruled by Bond villains.
That's a clip.
I'll make sure to save that. I was looking for
to determine, are they bullshit or not?
Here we go again with the delay. Okay, your mic's back.
I was trying to get to the Hinky clip for you, but you jumped back to the Tuesday tab. So we'll
sorry. Okay, yeah, we'll have to throw that on my Tuesday tab. One final thing about the heat wave stuff. I saw this. I think Kathy Powers posted this on social media somewhere. They had mentioned a while back that they were hoping that somebody would be able to show the Cooked Survival by Zip Code documentary that had aired on PBS, and we are not capable of doing that here without getting a zillion copyright strikes, but they found a way. And so the groups listed at the bottom of this is People's Response Network, Radical Elders, and a bunch of other people. They are doing a Zoom. They're doing a Zoom meeting and discussion where they are what's it called? They are featuring the film, and then they're going to have a discussion afterwards. And there's a link in the show notes. It's the Zoom link you see above you there. I'm not going to paste it in there, but if you're interested, go to the show notes in the description, click on the Zoom link and sign up so that you can watch it. You have to sign up ahead of time to watch this thing, but they're showing it tomorrow night, Wednesday, August 30th at 6:30 Central. So if you want to watch it for free through their Zoom meeting, you can do it then. And that's all.
You know what, Ed? I actually reached out to the production company that owns the rights to Cooked, because I know that the People's Response Network and Kathy had asked me if there's any way that we can run it here on the Chicago Corner channel. And I was explaining that, you know, I understand that Kartemkin gave People's Response Network the rights to show that video wherever they wanted in a closed setting, right?
Yeah.
With a limited audience. We can't put it here on YouTube where the entire world can see it, because that's a huge copyright violation. But I did reach out to Kartemkin and I never heard from them. So, you know, I did do my due diligence, Kathy, to try and see if there was a way to get it on here, but without permission from the producers, you know, keep doing what you guys are doing, do the private screenings, the private public screenings, wherever you can. And I think the Zoom meeting is great. It's a controlled event. You know, it's not out there forever where everyone can see it, which is a real violation. It's the copyright holder being able to recoup money if it's out there for free everywhere. Just because they give you permission and your group permission doesn't mean that we can show it here, then the whole world can see it, and it completely shuts down stream of revenue for them, because it exists here in the YouTube ecosystem for everyone to see forever. So
yeah, and part of that is because if you do search for that movie title, they will give you results. One of them is on YouTube where you can pay, I think it's $3 or $4 to rent the video and watch it. Yeah. So it is possible for you to watch it another time. It's just you might have to pay a few bucks to view it, unless PBS chooses to air it again, and then you'd have to check with them to see what their show listings are, see if they'll be showing it again.
I mean, and that's the big difference between us dropping in little clips that have no effect. I mean, us dropping in a clip from The Fugitive that's 10 seconds is not taking away, is not impacting Warner Brothers charging people $3.99 to watch the whole movie on YouTube, because you don't just want to see that clip, you want to see the whole movie. That's the whole idea of copyright and why clips are fair use, especially, you know, if you're making a commentary or using the clip to punctuate something. It's not taking money away from the larger work that the copyright holder makes a living off of, or makes money off of. So that's the distinction between us being able to run something. Look, 2 years ago when I ran my Christmas movie at Christmas time, Ed, not for our live food drive, but when I ran it the year before here, I got a copyright strike from YouTube for running my movie on our Chicago Corner program, because the music in the movie is registered with their digital algorithms, and I had to appeal to YouTube. In fact, they never released the copyright. I actually had to take that program. Yeah, I had to take that program down that has my movie in it. It's just weird how the whole copyright algorithm things work, but you can't run an entire program in its entirety without permission from the rights holder, knowing that everyone can see it from there on out, or if you have the rights yourself, or even in my case, I own the rights to my movie, but because I ran it its entirety here on our channel,
it's different. Yeah, it's different when you're showing it in a theater. Kathy mentions that they screened it in the 400 theater, which just recently closed. Yeah. It was the oldest theater in Chicago, I had learned. Yep. Didn't realize that one until I read the story. I'm like, oh. And
they were involved in some valiant efforts to keep that place open. They moved the Silent Film Festival or the Silent Film Society screenings there. I feel bad that, and they were having sellout shows too with Silent Film Society and some of the other stuff they've done recently, but it's just too expensive to run a small independent theater these days. Look what happened with the Pickwick in Park Ridge. Although that got taken over, they finally reopened. It got taken over by the management of the Copernicus Center, which is great because they did a beautiful job maintaining the Copernicus Center. I don't expect they're going to make any major alterations to the Pickwick, although there is some concern that they're not as interested in running movies as they are just doing live venue stuff. So time will tell what happens with the Pickwick. Yeah. But these private screening facilities, auditoriums and stuff, you got to find alternative forms of revenue other than just running movies. And I think the 400 was doing that. You could rent the theater out for live events or parties, but still not enough.
All right. Moving on to the next story. Chicago's migrant crisis will intensify as Democratic National Convention draws near, top mayoral aide says. This comes from the Chicago Sun-Times. GOP governors want to use the crisis to embarrass Democratic mayors.
Of course they do.
Said Christina Pacioni-Zayas, Mayor Brandon Johnson's deputy chief of staff.
Then do something to prevent the GOP governors from being able to like embarrass us. There's a lot of, well, when we talked Friday about the migrant shelter, Ed, as I teased earlier, we know that the funds are available. They're just not using them and using them in the right way, putting them in the right direction to solve this crisis.
Yeah. So the caption to this bus photo says a busload of migrants leaves Chicago's Union Station headed to a refugee center in August 2022. In the years since, Texas Governor Greg Abbott started sending busloads of migrants to Chicago. More than 13,000 have arrived. And the photos from Anthony Vasquez of the Sun-Times.
Can we rename Greg Abbott Greg Asshole?
Anytime.
You know, I saw somebody on Twitter was saying that Ben & Jerry's ice cream, they want to release a flavor to honor Joe Biden. And there was a poll asking,
Melty Joe?
Yeah, there was a poll asking what would we call Ben & Jerry's Joe Biden tribute ice cream. I had the perfect name. Shitty Libby. Shitty Libby.
I would have it be a melted bowl of terrible tasting ice cream and call it Melty Joe's ice cream soup.
Ooh. Spoiled ice cream soup.
Yes.
Expired, like spoiled milk.
Yeah. It's Malarkey Ripple or something. I don't know. Anyway, back to the story. Chicago could experience a 5-fold increase in arriving migrants, up to 10 busloads a day, sent here by Republican governors trying to embarrass and strain Democratic sanctuary cities in the run-up to the 2024 Democratic National Convention, a top mayoral aide said Monday. Well, okay, this is stirring the shit, is what this is. They could experience a 5-fold increase. They're basically either. Yeah, Kathy's like, they have to hide all these people before the convention.
She's right. No matter how well-intentioned they are, and when you hear about how like ridiculous their plans are, that's what they're going to be doing, Ed. That's what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, and so and then here and this is Christina Pacioni-Zayas basically exacerbating. She's basically screaming bloody murder right now. She's screaming the sky is falling. And it's falling with migrants. We don't know that that's going to happen, but now you're giving him ideas. Well done. Good job. Mayor Brandon Johnson's deputy chief of staff predicted the burgeoning crisis that has seen more than 13,000 migrants descend on the city over the last year will intensify the closer it gets to the Chicago Convention next August. So, yeah, so this is just piling on more potential problems for Brandon Johnson. And I don't know if maybe Christine is doing this so that the Dems actually get off their ass and send some money over here.
But they have
to help with this.
They have sent money over here. That we talked in the last show.
Oh, yeah, there is money, but they need more. There is money, they need more, but they need to start spending the stuff we have. And putting people in homes. Put roofs over their heads. There's so many options you're just not taking.
How much empty real estate do you think the Pritzker family has control over? They're into real estate, aren't they, the Pritzker family? Yeah. So when you know that the governor is at the forefront of trying to push for the city finding places for migrants to live, this kind of fell into line with the story I was told by my friend who worked at Catholic Charities, and the efforts that they're tasked with to try to find apartments that they can offer landlords a deal with government funds to house migrants for 6 months, right? I'm going to spoil some of I'm going to tell, but I won't really spoil it. One of the things that the caseworkers for these migrant families are tasked with doing, Ed, is finding empty apartments, empty units, by which they can offer the landlords 6 months worth of rent, government funded, to house the migrants. Of course, the landlords are then taking a chance on the final 6 months. During the first 6 months, the migrant families finding work to be able to sustain themselves for the final 6 months. But the point of the matter was, every time that my friend who works at Catholic Charities was calling the phone numbers for the empty apartments, the phone number was always going to an agency, two or three specific agencies that will charge charge a $75 application fee. So they can't afford to like file applications for all the migrants, because you've got these larger institutions, these larger agencies managing these properties for landlords. So I said to my friend, you know what the smart thing would have been to do is like look up what properties the Pritzker family manages and owns. I'm sure they've got a lot of vacant, empty property, and they can afford to make it available for the migrants here in Chicago and anywhere.
Well, if they have these types of agency fees, shouldn't the city work out some kind of deal with these agencies?
They should, Ed, but the thing is that they're given. Look, the fact that they can only offer a landlord half a year's guaranteed rent.
Yeah.
And after that first 6 months, the landlord can either let the family stay or they can kick them out, put them back on the street, and they're back where they started if they can't find work to sustain themselves. So they're limited in what they can even offer the landlords. Yeah, you would think that they should be able to like work in something so that, but here's the other thing. Why should migrant support, why should efforts to like find housing for migrants cost anybody $75 to file an application fee? The only reason it costs $75 is because the agency takes that $75 because it's processing all those applications for all the properties that they help landlords try to find applicants for. In this case, you know, hey, Mr. Mayor, moratorium on agencies charging $75 an application when the application is specifically meant to try to find housing for migrants with the money that you're going to be giving, guaranteed money you're going to be giving this landlord if they're willing to take the chance on housing a migrant for 6 months, a migrant family. Not a migrant family with kids running around, scared to death, as I heard from my friend. So
back to the article. In the last week alone, the number of new arrivals sleeping on the floors of Chicago police stations has increased 6% to 1,100. Even though Johnson has made it a priority to, quote, decompress police stations, another 170 new arrivals have taken up residence at O'Hare International Airport. There is $150 million in migrant funding that the, quote, feds have not appropriated, and City Hall is, quote, trying to make the case that we should be getting a large chunk of that because we have not closed our doors and we are forecasting for next year with the DNC, Passione Zaya said. Yeah, this is where she's going with this, is that she's trying to make a point. She's like, look, guys, you guys want to have your convention here? The Republicans are going to keep sending migrants over here, and they're going to do it to make you all look bad because you're not giving us the money we need to support them. And what she should be doing is saying, oh, and by the way, we got a homeless situation here too, and they need help also. And you're going to fund both of those things. Or we're going to talk to all those union buddies who declared peace with you, and then maybe they'll change their minds, because this is the Chicago way.
He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago way. Now, do you want to do that? Are you ready to do that?
I miss Sir Sean.
Yeah, so do I.
What a great... I was watching... Yeah, go get back to the article. I'm sorry. I'll get on the side.
But but look, Deputy Mayor, you want to do this right? You can't just focus on one issue here. You got to be all in for all the stuff that we need for the city, all the support the city needs. You gotta hit them up with it right now, while we still got Melty Joe in the presidency, and while you guys still have a very weak hold on the Senate. Or was it the House? I forget. They lost one of those. You remember which one they got and which one they don't anymore?
Who? The
Not that it matters. Not that it matters, because they're all in cahoots. But the truth is,
Wait. Which party did you talk about?
Is it the Dems? Do they got the Senate but not the House? No, they got the House, not the Senate.
They've got the House, not the Senate. Yeah.
Okay, so
and now they've got who's the Speaker of the House now since Nancy stepped down?
Oh, that jerk they were all afraid of when they were. What the hell's his name?
I can't even remember his name, which shows you how much power Pelosi had that you'd remember her.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, Warren's clarifying. No, they lost the House. Yeah, they lost the House. Yeah, they lost the House, but not the Senate.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So you still got Durbin. Is it? I think Durbin's running.
Dirtbag Durbin.
Dems. Yeah, Durbin. I got problems with Durbin, but we've talked about him in the past. We got to primary him the next time he's up for office because the guy's got to stop. I mean, he's been in office forever.
Yeah.
He's got to go. McCarthy,
that's right.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Or
Warren.
Warren said that. Kathy had a flavor for the Biden ice cream. It says tasteless war cream.
Yeah, and Warren had one milk chocolate malarkey.
Dates dark chocolate and dementia. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Cinema's now an independent, so technically they don't have the Senate either. Well, but look, Cinema is completely right-leaning now. She's another one who bamboozled everybody. Oh, we have a comment on Rockfin from Dick on Rockfin. A little late regarding movie theater stories, but new COVID will be the death of the theaters for sure.
No, and I'll tell you why. Because we're not having a lockdown again. We're done with that. They're not going to be able to do it this time to us.
If they're already talking about so we don't know for sure, but there have been some leaks that they're going to start forcing people to wear masks on airplanes again in September because of a variant out of Canada. And that this might all be in preparation for another pandemic that would force people to do mail-in voting before the next election. So that they can have
but that's all based on lies.
Well, we don't know if it's lies yet. We don't know. I mean, this information has been leaked.
No,
so
I'm not saying that there aren't viruses that are mutating and turning into variants. I'm saying it's endemic now.
Dude, I agree with you. I know it's not the date, but they're going to be there. It's going to be the new fear mongering by which they can lock people down and control things again.
They've already started with that nonsense.
Lockdown too.
And look, I've talked about it in a previous episode of Chicago Corner. Masks are good for larger particles, like the particles coming from smoke from those Canadian wildfires. All bets are off for particles smaller than that.
If you're worried,
most airborne viruses qualify for the particles smaller than that section.
If you want a mask, wear an N95 because they're the only real mask that you can wear to protect yourself, and don't expect everyone else to wear masks because the N95 should protect you. If you're concerned about it.
No, that's not accurate. I'm telling you N95 masks. They were not made to wear indefinitely. They're not made to wear all the time. Okay. They're not going to protect you like you think they're going to protect you.
Okay, hold on. I know that you're not supposed to wear them all the time, but if you are going to wear a mask, the mask to wear is the N95. So if you are concerned about particle spread, because that is like the top level of mask short of a hazmat suit, wear that when you need it and don't worry about, because that's supposed to protect you in the short term. You don't have to have everyone else wearing. Plus, it barely protects you anyway, but we're digressing.
Yeah, and if you really want to go down the rabbit hole of the things that they told us that may not have been factual, you could check out this guy named The Last American Vagabond. I think he's got channels on Rumble and Rockfin. I don't think he's on YouTube anymore because he's lifting the veil on a lot of stuff.
But you know, Ed, as far as Dick comments, new COVID would be the death of theaters for sure. If there are lockdowns, that would be poetic justice when it comes to one movie theater chain, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, I'm
almost crossing my fingers for it.
Look, I'm not in the same mindset as you, but I'm not as highly invested as you were. So, I mean, but yeah, there are some people running certain movie theater companies who really need a swift kick in the balls.
Oh, they don't need they need street justice is what they need, my friend.
All right,
That's what they need. More than swift kick in the balls they will recover from. Yeah. Forget about what I'm losing or what you're losing. It's peanuts compared to what other people are going to be losing based on the fact that our SEC and Department of Justice are in complete collusion with a CEO and a board that paid themselves from retail investors that saved their company and are now going to completely dilute any potential for returns. For it's same shit, different day on Wall Street.
So as we divert shortly, briefly for our AMC moment on Chicago Corner, I just want to tell you I haven't changed my strategy, and so I haven't lost anything because I have not sold my shares. We're in Schrodinger's AMC stock.
What does that mean? Because Schrodinger's.
If you know what Schrodinger's box is,
I don't. So explain.
There's this guy named Schrodinger, and he says that there's a cat in a box.
Okay.
Is it alive or dead? You don't know until you open the box. Until then, it's in a state of flux.
So you're talking about
there's uncertainty. You don't know because you haven't made the move to make that determination. If you haven't sold your shares, you haven't lost anything yet.
Well, but the price, but you're going to lose everything because the value of the shares, as we've seen over the past 2 days, have been plummeting like off of a cliff because of the manipulation.
Yes, and there are reasons for that within the hedge weasel world, and they call that filling gaps. So there were some short positions that needed to fill gaps at $2.50, and someone on Twitter had warned us about it the other day, and so I saw it coming. I was like, "Well, no big deal. It's going to sit there. It's probably going to sit there around that price for a couple of days, which is actually good for me because then my funds will settle and I'll be able to average down."
For anybody paying attention to AMC, I shared with some of my friends, a few of actually who I bought shares for, just because I wanted to see them succeed, hoping that this would work out without them losing their own money. I said Thursday and Friday are the end game. Pay attention to your smartphone stock app. Be like within arm's length of being able to log on to your brokerage dashboard on your computer if you can. Because Thursday going into Friday morning are going to be the day where you have to determine if you're going to sell, at what loss or at what profit, depending on how crazy things might get at the end of the day Thursday. Because Thursday is the last day that there are going to be two stocks until they're reverse split into one stock that will potentially be lesser value. So you really have to pay attention to things. I can't give advice on which way to go. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be Thursday. I'm going to be at home on my computer watching my day trading dashboard, as I think anybody who's got AMC should, because I don't know what's going to happen before Friday morning.
I can make one bit of advice. It's not actual financial advice. It's just strategic advice. If you plan on investing or purchasing more shares of any stock, and that stock's value is below $3, they won't let you do it unless the funds you use to purchase that stock have settled. And so if you just do a regular bank transfer, they call that like an EFT, you got to wait 2 to 4 days for that to actually clear and settle. But there's a faster way to do it, is that you would have to do a wire transfer.
Here's another thing to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, who thought we learned everything about the stock market during the pandemic when there was nothing else to focus our attention on as we were all struggling financially. The GameStop short squeeze that was suppressed because Robinhood took away the buy button was probably the last short squeeze we're ever going to see in the American stock market. Not because that squeeze had anything illegal going on with it, aside from Robinhood taking away the buy button from people that wanted to take advantage of that moment to buy stock that was supposed to go up because hedge funds needed to cover their short positions. What just happened with AMC is a managed event. The rich in this country, Wall Street, the hedge funds, they play by different rules. They will never, ever allow the laws to be followed through on against those breaking that, because right now all these hedge funds that shorted AMC, they failed to deliver for, what is it now, 40 days, Ed?
More than 40.
More than 40 days. And normally that's supposed to trigger margin calls. It's supposed to trigger recalls on returning
way before 40 days. They're supposed to trigger.
Right. So the SEC and the Department of Justice are not enforcing the rules. Why? Because they know all these hedge funds over leverage themselves, but they're not going to enforce the laws because they don't want the hedge funds to lose their shirts. And the rest of us who saw, oh, here's an opportunity because they did the wrong thing. Maybe we can benefit on our investment and have some life-changing wealth. We're not allowed to get rich, everybody, even when we've played by the rules, because the rules are broken for the rich Wall Street hedge fucks, as I like to call them. So we will
I'm still waiting for someone to pull a rabbit out of their hat. Though,
it's not going to happen.
I know you're pessimistic on this play. I know you are.
It's not going to happen. They will never allow a short squeeze to happen after what happened with GameStop. GameStop was the moment where suddenly they realized, we have to figure out other ways to cheat so that this never happens again. This has been 2 years. Remember, we saw it rose up to 72. That was I think it was after it hit 72 and dropped that they finally figured out the computations for their algorithms to constantly barcode and never let it go that high again. When some hedge funds suddenly I think that there was a small hedge fund that got margin called, which is why we saw it shoot up, and then boom, they were. Remember how you saw halts on the. They were.
Look, I know that there's a lot of management going on with the market makers, with what gets reported into the lit exchange, which affects the price. And so they've got these algorithmic computers basically doing weird trades to make it do that barcoding thing or to keep the price suppressed or at a certain level where they need it to be. I don't know if everyone in Wall Street is on board with them continuing this shenanigans.
Come
and
on,
I think there's
how
going
can you
to
not
be,
think that?
They are trying to figure out how to bail a bunch of people out because they don't want the market to crash.
Right, and that's what the CEO of the company did by reverse diluting the stock. Now the stock is dirt cheap, so all the hedge funds can cover cheaply, and they're managing. They're cleaning up a crime scene is what they're doing. And Dick on Rockford, this wasn't a pump and dump scheme. This was not a managed pump and dump. This was a managed. What happened, but those that are in charge of regulating things and enforcing laws, they're not asleep at the wheel. They're basically helping the cleanup operation, because it potentially would have completely wrecked the market had margin calls happen and all these hedge funds been liquidated to cover their short positions. This would have been like a borderline mass extinction event on Wall Street as far as all these hedge funds going under.
Now, at the end of the day, the regular traders on Wall Street, the guys who basically they buy and sell and short and do all this other and buy options and all these other things, they're in it to basically find ways to make money and profit off of whatever movements that are happening or that they can estimate are going to happen in the market. And so I am going to disagree with you. I think there will be a squeeze. It's not going to be the MOAS, and I think it's going to be managed because there are a bunch of guys out there that once they try and figure out if they can actually weasel their way out of the short vortex that they got themselves into, that they're going to find cheap and easy way to make money, and that's going to be buying really cheap AMC stock at the bottom and watching that thing go not through the roof, but pretty high so they can get out right before the thing drops back down again.
And that's what we're going to be watching for on Thursday into Friday, that possible jump. And for those that don't know what MOAS means, it means the mother of all short squeezes. There was one other stock that did this in recent history. It was Volkswagen. Volkswagen had this point where shorts needed to cover, and they called it the mother of all short squeezes because the stock went up extraordinarily into high digits. Of course, I think it was another company that owned shares of the stock that benefited. It wasn't retail traders, but AMC had the potential to be the greater mother of all short squeezes following what happened with Volkswagen. It was back in the 1990s, I think. But with the CEO of the company colluding with rigging a vote to force a reverse split, which would dilute the stock and allow for him to bail his hedge fund friends out because they could buy the stock cheaper. He's completely betrayed. Completely betrayed. I will never step foot in another AMC theater in my life after this. Never. And I hope if there is another pandemic, I hope there's not another pandemic. But I was, back to Dick on Rockfin's point, which opened up the whole AMC conversation. It would be poetic justice if we did have another pandemic and movie theaters suffered and AMC actually went into bankruptcy and there's nobody around that next time to bail them out the way we did these past 2 years while they gave themselves fat bonuses. The CEO and the board in the middle of the pandemic when they were losing money, giving themselves bonuses, getting retail investors to invest because we were going to have this short squeeze. The company was going to win. The investors were going to win. Oh, no, not so much. Now I need to, the CEO needs to fix things so his friends can get out easy and everybody else who saved the company is fucked. Ugh.
Anyway. So
it looks like Dominic's with us.
Hey, Dominic. He says, remember that laws are interpreted by politicians elected in the last election to determine if they are enforced or ignored, depending upon their personal interests of those of their wealthy donors. Yeah, we know that more than half of Congress is making huge bank on Wall Street because they're basically doing insider trading. And even though they set rules to not do that, it's not really illegal for them because they can just do it.
No, they've subverted rules too. I mean, Pelosi is like one of the biggest. But Pelosi is one of the biggest criminals in Congress for her insider trading. And when asked about, well, shouldn't we put some laws in place so that Congress can't get rich off their? Why do you think she's been in office her whole life? So she can get all the information to do her inside trading and enrich.
Yeah, but
herself.
they're all wealthy beyond.
I know.
Compare at this point. At this
and
point, it's
been
just
on
about hanging on to power for dear life while they still can.
While they can also enrich themselves because none of these people, even if it was just about power, they wouldn't be as rich as they are if they didn't have that inside trading track. Because you're not going to have the amount of wealth Nancy Pelosi has on a regular congressional salary. So the wealth comes with the power, and the power staying there is what gives you the ability to continue to enrich yourself while they don't enforce the laws that are supposed to protect the rest of us involved in this marketplace.
All right. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah.
We're on the migrants and
we're talking about the migrants.
Yeah.
Here's
your free form.
Yeah. So look, we're going to talk about everything on this show. And I like that because, it gives us the flexibility we need to really just talk about whatever we're interested in talking about. And I hope you guys are not are able to follow along without us meandering too much in and out of the weeds of our lives. But at least it'll be entertaining while we continue steering in and out of the ditch.
But I think we're pretty good about giving some extra perspective and background so people can, understand what it is, that it's important to us that we, toss back and forth. That actually affects a lot of other people, but have some kind of context. I think we always are good at laying out the context for people.
Yeah. So, and I'm just going to take this off the screen really quick because basically we're just some regular retail investors who had a lot of time to kill during the lockdown, like a lot of you did. And there was an opportunity there to save a movie theater or potentially make a lot of money or both. Some people focused on one or the other. I was happy to save movie theaters, even though I'm not thrilled with the guy who's currently the head of AMC right now for a number of reasons. And I think he was brought in, honestly, I think he was brought in to try and sundown the company while they were trying to short it. And then he got caught in the middle of
the pandemic.
In the bunch of retail investors saying, hey, you know what? Let's save AMC and see if we can make a buttload of money at the same time.
Yeah.
And he was certainly not expecting that because he had this whole plan with his buddies at Citibank to split the shares off.
But he took full advantage of the retail investor. That's the thing, Ed. He knew what he was doing. He is the scummiest of the scum.
Look, he bought a gold mine Why did you buy a gold? Why did you take that money and buy a gold mine? You're
Launder
pissing all the money.
Launder money, launder funds, launder money. I guarantee he's going to retire.
But
he's
also
going to retire before the end of the year. Ed. You wait and see.
Because he wanted to cry poor with with his cash flow, and it's like, well, dude, you shouldn't have bought a gold mine.
You shouldn't have given yourself bonus. There's some talk now about lawsuits to do a clawback on the bonuses they give themselves. What company, when they're losing money, decides, you know, why they gave themselves bonuses? Because the retail investors were pumping money into the company, hoping that they would force the short squeeze. So what did Adam Aron and his buddies do? Oh, let's pay ourselves big fat bonuses when the company's losing money and go invest in a speculative gold mine. Now he's bitching and moaning, oh, you know, well, we want to buy laser projectors, and he's not even talking about paying down the theater's debt anymore, and you know that. He used to talk about the importance of paying down debt. Now, in their record year, second quarter earnings that were amongst their highest in history, without even putting the Barbie or Oppenheimer revenue into that equation, because that's not till third quarter, they're doing great. And at the earnings call, he was a wet blanket. Well, you know, we might face bankruptcy in 2 years, and we're not out of the woods yet. Motherfucker, you're out of the woods, and you're basically, it was a cash cow piggy bank for you and your board.
Yeah, I was
and that's what that was all about.
He kept doing that. I'm like, come on.
Fucking liar. Fucking liar.
It's like we just bailed the company out. Your old plan is over. Now you got to run the company and get it back and thriving. You can do that. Yeah, you're going to probably screw over some of your Wall Street buddies, but they had it coming.
You could literally hear him sweating on that earnings call, making up every excuse in the book for why we're not out of the woods, and this reverse split was going to save the company. Yeah, it's going to save it's not going to save the company as much as save your friends who need to buy those shares back cheaply to cover their short position so they're not liquidated the way they should be, for recklessly engaging in tactics to have sundown or put your company out of business before the pandemic happened. This is all it's just rich people's games.
Yeah, it is.
So, I'm not disagreeing. Look, yeah, I'm very pessimistic about what's going to happen. And I'm going to be glued to my dashboard Thursday and Friday to try to figure out how I can salvage what I can out of what I put into the company, right? But I think, given everything that's happened with the court case and all the judge acknowledged and admitted it's all there in her ruling. Yeah, the company did rig their vote by selling this secondary preferred share to an institution for pennies on the dollar so that they could have their votes rig the vote in the direction that voted for this reverse split, but I'm going to let you get away with it anyway. It's like that's fruit of the poison tree. If you know that company, and you acknowledge, and the judge did, that they rigged that vote, it was illegal what they did, there's no reason you should allow any reverse split, any relisting or anything. You say you go back and start over. Go back and start over without that vote. She didn't do it because the courts in Delaware are just as fucking corrupt as people on Wall Street and in our Justice Department and SEC. So,
and to summarize,
would you consider yourself a revolutionary?
Well, no, but I do believe corporations rob us of our dignity and independence, and that these systems must be ripped down, burnt down, or leveled by any force necessary. But that's just one little bear's opinion.
The red.
Collect your torches and go!
I know, I gotta stop eating these things. I'm gonna go into a sugar coma.
As Elvis used to say, a little less conversation.
A little more orange slices.
A little more call to arms. Man, I'm starting to realize Bane had it right in The Dark Knight Rises. Remember when they laid siege on Wall Street?
Yeah. Although still, I mean, come on, Bruce. She stole your fingerprints. You didn't figure that out?
Well, yeah, major plot hole in that script. Even when I was sitting in the theater, I'm like, well, wait a minute. They know that his fingerprints were stolen, yet he still lost everything, and he's one of the richest guys in Gotham in the world. It was a plot. It was just a plot device.
Yeah, it was a plot hole bigger than that hole that Bane left in that stadium, Jerry.
That's true. Are you saying that my plan was not well thought out, Mr. Heller?
No, I'm saying the world's greatest detective must have had a brain fart that day.
Kill them now. Don't make me kill you now.
Yeah. And yes, Warren, Elvis died while trying to strain.
Yeah.
On the crapper.
Died on the shitter. The king died on the throne.
So eat plenty, drink plenty of fluids, take fiber.
Get plenty of fiber. Yep.
Maybe, or, eat foods with fiber in them. Don't do lots of drugs all at the same time. That's not a good idea. And that's about it. Peanut butter and banana sandwiches, though, those are awesome. Those are really good.
I stopped at my corner store today, Ed, to pick up 4 $1 Arizona raspberry iced teas, and every once in a while I'll get myself like one of those salami loaves that's like this big. I'll snack on it, cut little slices if I'm working. The checkout lady says 1863. I'm like, 1863? I know the iced teas were $1 each. How much is that salami? $13.65.
For what? What did you buy?
The salami, not a long, but like one of these small little salami loaves. That's got the wrapper on it. You slice them.
Food is ridiculous.
I'm just like, I bought it, but I was like, because I never really pay attention to the price of groceries. Although there was a lady on Twitter who was talking about the fact that a bag of grapes, Nature's Candy, cost her like $8 or $9 for a bag, so she could pick them up for her kids. I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of money for a bag of grapes.
I stopped at a Fresh Time grocery store because it was on my way home. I'm like, oh, let's check the prices over at this place. And I was like, I don't have any fresh pineapple at home, and I like to eat the fresh pineapple because it's got the bromelain stuff in it, which is good for your heart and your circulatory system because it dissolves clots, without me getting into any more information about that. Like $4 for a pineapple. And then they had a container where they would they cut the outside off the pineapple, so it's just a stack of rings in a container, same price. And I'm like, that's expensive as hell.
Yep.
Food prices are through the roof. Melty Joe's Bidenomics is real. It's just real awful. And so I don't know why you guys keep saying, oh yeah, but if we don't vote for him, then some fascist orange nitwit gets in again. You know what? They're all terrible.
That's why we're pushing for third parties.
You got to push for third party. And honestly, politics is not going to save us, but at least it would be a step in the right direction if you guys could help a party like the Green Party to get ballot access in all of your states. I think currently they've got 17 states where they have ballot access, and Illinois needs to get access again. They had it and they lost it again. And that the Dems are on the warpath to keep third parties off the ballot. I don't know about the Republicans. I don't know if they care, but the Dems are usually pretty good at making sure that they keep other parties off the ballot.
Other parties off the ballot and don't even primary their existing candidate with other candidates within their own party. That's how it's they're evilly
rigged in their own primaries, and nobody should ever support them again on the federal level ever. If you have people running locally because that's the only way they are capable of running, like, for example, we had our past mayoral election where basically everyone was running on the Democratic Party ticket, even though I bet a lot of them really weren't Democrats. I know Paul Vallis wasn't.
Kathy asked, why did I buy the salami? Because I was hungry. I want to have it here. I wasn't going to like say no at that point. I mean, I didn't buy a lot, but it just made me notice, Kathy, as we're talking, and as Ed is talking about the pineapple, and Mad Matt is talking about, who else was in the chat here talking about, well, Mad Matt said he notices prices are getting higher too.
Yeah. And look, you can shop around. I mean, there are different stores. You know, I'll go to the Jewel, I'll go to the Aldi, look at, you know, certain things are on sale in one place that are not on sale in another. And you can find some deals on certain products, but a lot of the food is still just ridiculously expensive. Coffee is really pricey these days. Fruits and vegetables have always been kind of expensive, but once in a while when they have a surplus, they'll put them on sale. You got to find the right day when they're about to pull them off the shelves and turn them into something else. You know, maybe they hand them over to the bakery department and they get baked into things, you know, but then they put it, you know, because they only have a certain shelf life with some of the fresh items. And so you got to catch them on the right day, and maybe you can get some deals and then just throw stuff in the freezer. But food is ridiculously expensive.
I still am amazed that we have to pay tax on food, sales tax.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to. There are other states that don't do that.
Or clothing. Okay. Food and clothing should not be taxable items.
Right.
It's a necessity.
And by the way, gas prices are still ridiculously high too. I was spending close to $5 a gallon just the other day.
Yep, me too. I filled my tank, $70. That was in a gas station up in Wilmette.
Yeah,
$4.90 but
maybe every week and a half or so, I got to fill up my gas tank, and it costs me over $60. And it's out of control. I can't afford to keep doing this. I can't feed myself and put gas in my car.
So Warren shares, it looks like New York's at least got something right. Yeah. No tax on food, no tax on clothes up to $150. You mean $150 in one purchase, or $150 on your tax returns as a deductible?
Now we did for a short period of time, and I think it was initiated by the lockdown, that they had suspended food taxes.
Yeah, I remember that
for a little while, but that expired like a month or two ago.
Yeah, no, longer.
They did the same thing with gas taxes as well.
That expired farther back than a month ago. The food tax.
Was it like July?
It was probably last year. There's been tax on food every time I've gone to the grocery store for the past year.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we shouldn't be taxing food. That's a thing that Illinois should not be doing. And they're happy to tax everybody on everything. What else are we talking about today? Let's see. We mentioned Elvis. We talked about the peanut butter and banana sandwich. We talked about food costs too much. We were talking about migrants. That's right. Let's go back to the migrant story really quick. With 15 shelters housing 36,360 new arrivals, Chicago already spends upwards of $20 million per month to house, feed, clothe, and care for migrants. The $51 million in emergency funding approved by a divided city council on May 31st carried the city only through June 30th. If Pacione Zayas' prediction is remotely correct, Johnson will likely be forced to seek another supplemental appropriation to get through 2023 and even more migrant funding in the 2024 budget that he's scheduled to present to the council on October 11th. But first, the city is trying to use state funding that has to be spent by the end of the month because it was appropriated in the fiscal year ending June 30th, along with federal funding that has strings attached with only certain things you can charge to them, she said. A request for proposals from community-based providers aimed at reducing what Pacione Zayas called exorbitant staffing costs is expected to land next week. The assumption is that we will not have to pay the premium for our local community-based organizations and social service agencies. I do predict, though, that we will have to have some level of this contractual staffing from the current company or maybe even another one because it's a 24-hour staffing cycle. And I just know, coming from a nonprofit world, you're not likely to get second and third shift staff. We may need to supplement with some of these contractual staff that are used to these types of cycles. Ray Lopez is in this story. Hello, Oreo. Nice to see you on cam this evening. I don't know if he's happy about Ray Lopez, though.
He's just chilling.
He's just hanging out here. Let's see if the camera... Ooh, we got a weird little thing where there's a delay, but that was kind of fun. And we're back to Ray Lopez. Lopez says he believes Johnson will be forced to seek a supplemental appropriation or up to $160 million just to cover the cost of the migrant crisis through December 31st and seek $300 million more for next year. Well, he can do that. That should be pretty easy since the Dems are coming with their convention, and then maybe give Chewy Garcia a call, maybe give Dick Durbin a call, tell him we need money for migrants and homeless people and city support, potholes maybe too, maybe some extra money for pizza. I'm just saying.
I think I'm going to double check before Friday, but I think Gage Park may have been the shelter my friend was working out of for Catholic Charities. I'll double check that.
Yeah, I didn't mention now being used to house 302 migrants. Gage Park Field House. He says, my colleague said when the $51 million was asked that they'll vote for that now, but they're not going to vote for it again, which is why I believe the administration's only tool now will be to wait until the budget process begins and either include it as an amendment to the 2023 budget retroactively or include it in the management ordinance somehow so that he forced aldermen to say yes, Lopez says. He seems to be really cooperative now, Ray Lopez. It's like he's actually... It seems those quotes make it seem like he's trying to help with the process, or at least giving us expectations.
I wonder if the fact that there's a big progressive wave in city council that he realizes he doesn't have the big stick he thought he did. Mm-hmm. With with all of the outgoing incumbents, that some who were charged and were forced to leave, like Burger King or who else? I don't think he's got as much support there as he may have hoped for before the progressive wave of aldermen and women got voted in.
$51 million in emergency funding approved May 31st came from the opioid settlement. Okay. Going forward, Lopez said he believed the structural surplus built into the budget through roughly 4,000 vacant positions that never get filled will be redirected to the care and feeding of migrants. Mayor Johnson needs to step up, stop worrying about his political future, and focus on the city's present, which is the fact that we now have over 13,000 individuals of limited support who are draining our coffers and threaten his agenda because every available dollar is being redirected toward them when it could go towards the services he campaigned on wanting to provide to the city of Chicago.
Yeah, but let's take a step back. Do you think Lopez would have pushed for all those other services being funded before the migrants came in, like helping the homeless? I doubt it. He's grandstanding.
But he's grandstanding, but he's correct in this statement.
Well, he is correct in it, but he's technically correct. He's disingenuous, though, because you and I know he wouldn't give a shit about the homeless or anybody else that needs help along some of these abandoned neighborhoods. That he's suddenly grabbing onto that as a way to be critical of the mayor. Not that the mayor is perfect right now, but we all know the politics involved. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, Mad Matt, he is for.
Last week, the city authorized $500,000 contract with Maxim Healthcare Staffing Services for temporary staffing at its 15 migrant shelters. And that's that story. Okay. Oh, we're on to that story. Okay, that's fine. That's a good story. How's everybody doing out there? You guys hanging in there? How's your Tuesday going? He says as he waits 30 seconds for the stream to buffer.
Are you asking me?
Well, I'm asking everybody.
Well, so I thought you were directing that to the chat. You know how I'm doing.
I am asking everyone in the chat, right, but if you want to chime in on that, how is your Tuesday going, Jerry?
So far, better than some others. I'm a little bit relaxed tonight. I don't know why, but by the way, the reason we didn't go on Friday was I was just completely burnt out, everybody. I was like, Ed, I can't go on tonight and perform for 3 hours and bitch about the news. I just need to decompress tonight. After some of the stuff we saw last week, not unrelated to what we were talking about with our investments in the market, but just overall, I'm just like, I need a break, man, or my head's going to explode.
Yeah, I understood. I was ready to go on. And I even thought I had a co-host lined up in case you were cool with that, but we could maybe do that another night. I know Uncle Warren likes to come on the show from time to time. We're happy to have him on. And we do want to talk to him about stuff because he lives in another metropolitan city, New York, and they have stuff going on similar to the stuff going on here. And it's nice to compare and see how each of our cities does stuff different. And he's like, hey man, I could come on and talk about little things happening in New York. And I said, that'd be great.
We are trying to reach a wider national audience.
So we want to do that sometime. And look, anytime you want to take a Friday off, but we want to keep the stream rolling, I'm happy to fill in for you anytime, Jerry.
Well, we'll talk about it. I sent you an email about that. So there's certain things I want to figure out with that. So
yeah. And as you can see, Oreo's taken a little, like it is literally a cat nap.
It is a cat nap.
And I'm jealous right now.
I think are we putting him to sleep?
No, he's like, I can listen to you guys with my eyes closed.
He's awake
now he's looking. He knows we're talking about him.
Do you know we're talking about you? You little punk.
It's like, I know. So next story, Johnson planned to help the homeless would raise tax on different home sales. Yeah, that's a little bit of a confusing headline, but we'll get into that momentarily. Compromise cuts transfer tax rate for property sold under 1 million, progressively raises it for sales above 1 million. This comes from Chicago Sun-Times, Fran Spielman. Mayor Brandon Johnson has signed off on a compromise plan to raise the real estate transfer tax on high-end home sales to generate $100 million in annual revenue to combat homelessness, but in a way that will reduce the tax for homes sold for less than $1 million. See what he's doing.
Yeah.
Let's see what Oreo's doing. Really.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Johnson.
Oh, he's awake. No, yeah, I did originally, and then I saw Oreo. I'm like, no, wait, he's not napping anymore.
No, we don't have to pay attention to him. I just figured I'd move the camera with him. I didn't mean to. I wasn't meaning to interrupt.
No, it's fine. It's fine. What was I? Where was I? Oh, Zoning Committee Chair Carlos Ramirez Rosa of the 35th Ward. Oh, hey, that's the ward I live in now. The mayor's city council floor leader predicted that the 11th hour concessions would minimize opposition from Chicago developers and guarantee city council approval of a binding referendum on the March ballot. He also predicted overwhelming voter approval. Now, March ballot, so even if it gets approved, we're still waiting until next year. What are they doing about the homeless now? That's what I mean. Again, this is the perfect opportunity while you've got the DNC's attention because they're so nervous about their convention coming up that you say, look, throw a whole bunch of money our way so that we can put roofs over these people's heads.
You would imagine, Ed, that Mayor Johnson would realize that this is a teachable moment.
It is a teachable moment.
Right?
And it's, yeah.
Given his background as a teacher?
It's a perfect opportunity is what it is. I mean, you got to see it for what it is. I mean, that's why I was so frustrated when the unions just decided to quote unquote make peace with the DNC for the upcoming convention. Look, guys, you got to hold out for concessions here. They got the purse strings. They could make a lot of things better for this city that you work in.
Kathy makes a comment, and I don't disagree with her. All his detractors are more interested in his career than he is. They want him to misstep. I don't disagree, Kathy. However, we can't keep ignoring and making excuses for what seems to be slow actions and slow decisions past his first 100-day honeymoon period here. So, I mean, look, I'm lobbying, I'm volleying fire at them all over Twitter. This idiot, the Chicago authoritarian, his whole Twitter feed is all about, Mayor Johnson. Apparently everybody thinks that the mayor can fly around the city like Superman and stop gun violence and stop crimes. And we know that's not going to happen unless you invest. And it's not going to take a year. It's not going to take a term. It's not going to take 2 terms. It's going to take decades to undo the damage, getting back to the root causes. But by the same token, as we've talked about in some stories here tonight, he's a little bit slow on moving forward with some of these initiatives. What just happened? Did we lose Ed? I'm monologuing. So I don't know. Ed may have lost his connection here, but I'm sure he'll be back in a moment. There he is. He's popping back in. Kathy says status quo. Yeah.
Well, that was weird.
Welcome back, Ed.
Thanks.
What happened?
Tiny little glitch. I don't know what happened there. I guess I dropped off the thing I was sharing, but that's okay because all I'm doing is just reading from the article anyway. So, and it's again, if you're just joining us, we just started talking about Brandon Johnson and his real estate transfer tax plan. And we are covering the article from Chicago Sun-Times that is titled "Johnson Plan to Help the Homeless Would Lower, Raise, and Really Raise Tax on Different Home Sales." And it talks about how it's going to reduce the tax for homes sold for less than $1 million. But there's going to be a progressive structure for homes that sell over $1 million. And so I'm going to get into some of those details.
I have another comment off of Rockfin from Dick on Rockfin, and I'm about to bring that screen up so we can actually have some added production value to the program. Dick on Rockfin opines, why doesn't the city give everyone a full-time job and didn't open up there, and let them rent their own apartment that the city builds? The city needs a hell of a lot of cleaning and sprucing up. All cities do. I think that what you're proposing, Dick, would be a great starter program for the migrants.
Yeah.
There's some
and
good
homeless
jobs,
too.
and homeless. And look, a lot of them are skilled in infrastructure, construction, labor. That would be a good startup until they can get on their feet and get into something that, might be more conducive or fulfilling to them. But he says Chicago can mortgage city property and use that to finance building apartments. Not only build apartments, Dick, but we have empty buildings that they could purchase and they could repurpose is what they could do. Finance building apartments and hire everyone needing a full-time maintenance construction job, keeping the city shining, who pay rent to pay mortgage. Dude, send your tip to the mayor of Chicago, because that's not a bad idea. It's actually a really good idea. Yeah, I see, Kathy. I do see Palos Paul tweets occasionally from his little, mini McMansion in Palos Heights. Palos tweets and a lot of people remind him, "Oh, you lost and you don't live here, so shut up."
You don't live here.
I mean, I would give him a little bit more benefit of the doubt if he kept up his bachelor pad in Bridgeport, but That was back on the market the day after he lost the election. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. The original proposal from the Bring Chicago Home Coalition called for tripling the transfer tax on Chicago homes sold for $1 million and above from 0.75% to 2.65%, generating $160 million in annual revenue. But instead, Johnson signed off on what his floor leader called a 3-tiered progressive structure. Properties sold for under $1 million that currently account for 94% of all sales will see a decrease in the real estate transaction tax owed. The new tax rate would be 0.6%, down from the current rate of 0.75%, a 20% cut. Sales of 1 million or over, but under 1.5 million will pay a 2% tax, more than 2.5 times what they pay now. And sales of 1.5 million and higher will pay 3%, which is 4 times the current rate. Ramirez Rosa noted a home sold for $500,000 would pay $3,000 under the new structure, down from $3,750 under the current rate. Affordable housing projects receiving city, county, state, or Chicago Housing Authority subsidies would be exempt from the increase. We got to look out for hinky shenanigans when that is happening. So, so if, for example, if there was some housing thing that got sold to some business dude, but they did it under the CHA subsidy or something, they could try and hoodwink their way out of paying taxes. So we got to watch for that. The concessions didn't satisfy Jack Lavin, president of the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, too bad, Jack. Sorry, Jack. Rich dudes got to start paying. We remain opposed. Chicago would have the second highest real estate transfer tax if this passed compared to competitive cities. You know what? Then maybe all those other cities need to start doing the same thing. And then maybe they wouldn't start crumbling while you jerks get off with these huge tax breaks that you don't deserve. It will come at a time when vacancy rates are high. You know what? If vacancy rates are high, they should take those buildings and repurpose them. Maybe this is one of those positive things that the city can do, is they can do an eminent domain thing where they actually put people in these homes so they have roofs over their heads. And then since you're too much of a jerk to be able to actually rent out your buildings or put people in homes, then maybe you shouldn't be owning that anymore. Not trying to get, into a situation where, like no authoritarian type of thing, but it should be, if a city government sees that you are a predatory building owner or you're some type of investment property owner who's just hoarding buildings and letting them rot, then I think the city is within their rights to come in and say, look, we're going to repurpose this and put it to actual good use. I don't think that's unreasonable. But then, there's always wiggle room for people to misuse that type of thing. So I don't know what kind of policy we would have to put into place, I'm just throwing stuff at the wall and trying to see if any of this makes sense, because we got all these empty buildings, right? We got a lot of them are like empty apartment buildings and stuff, and they just let them go vacant and they don't care. Meanwhile, all these people need roofs over their heads. Just saying. All right. So there's that story.
I'm doing some advanced research on the next story, Ed.
Okay. And it's still got to go, and again, this real estate transfer tax thing has still got to go get voted by city council. right? So we're still waiting on that, and who knows if Council Wars is going to get started because of that. But and that is one of the things on our bingo card, which I should promote again, just because it's fun. Hey there, have you heard of the Brandon Bingo card? Well, you haven't. Well, did you know you can get one if you go over to ChicagoCornerTV.com? That's ChicagoCornerTV.com. And when you head to ChicagoCornerTV.com, you can scroll down and see that little thing that says, get your Brandon Bingo card here. And you click on that link, and it brings you to your very own Brandon Bingo card. Everybody's card is slightly different. The center box is always fix the potholes. We're still going to wait on that. We're not checking that yet. Because the truth is, even though they're patching some, I'm noticing while I do my commute every day, there are always new potholes. And so until they do a major overhaul of the road conditions in the city, I don't think we can check that. But we did recently check this one that says send Arwoody packing, because Brandon Johnson just fired Allison Arwoody. And so there are other things on the board. Start Council Wars 2 is in the top left for me. It might be in a different location on your Brandon Bingo card. But we don't think they've started that yet, do we, Jerry? Council Wars 2. Yeah,
it's actually slow in starting. And I think that, like I said earlier, because Lopez doesn't have the what do you call it? The block behind him of aldermen to create a fortified front.
Yeah, he doesn't have that unification. Yeah, that voting block, like you said.
What do they call it? The caucus. He doesn't have like a progressive. He doesn't have caucus. Yeah,
a gang, whatever you want to call it. So we have things on here like help the homeless, restore the mental health clinics, eat Chicago pizza. Actually, you know what, Jerry? We can check that one. I did read a news story where he did consume some Chicago pizza, and I believe it was thin crust.
Thin crust, wow. Treading
which is fine. Look, hey, that's the pizza that we all eat most of the time, you can't have deep dish every day or every week. You can try, but it's everyday pizza. You want the squares, I think, every once in a while you just want to grab a little square or a couple, 2-3 squares, a pizza, and eat them. So I'm not holding that against them. So, but it's nice because now I got a vertical here. I just need 2 more going vertical, or I need 3 going diagonal to get my bingo. Now, did he name drop Harold? I don't have a definitive record of him name dropping Harold. I'm sure he has, but I'm not checking it yet because I need to get actual article or video evidence of him name dropping Harold Washington. So I'm not going to check that one yet. Did he restore the basketball hoops? That's a good question.
I just, in preparation for our next story, Ed, I don't know. Are we done with Brandon Bingo?
Yeah, pretty much. We'll come back to Brandon Bingo another time.
Yeah.
Because I know there will be events.
Why don't we get the next story up? Because I've just fucking had it with this story. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
I didn't want to spend a ton of time on it, but I definitely want to hear what you have to say.
I'll tell you what I have to say. I just went online and went to license plate lookup.
Yeah.
And just spent $295 because they told me they had the information on the owner of this vehicle from the license plate. And of course, after I paid the $295, of which I'm going to have to cancel because they want to charge me $24.95 a month in I think in 2 weeks. When I click on the title information, I get rerouted to a page that says how to request an Illinois vehicle record. Persons eligible under the Driver Privacy Protection Act and Illinois statutes may obtain an Illinois motor vehicle record. I have to write the Secretary of State after I've just paid for information on this license plate that they said the vehicle owner information was available. It's a bait and switch. So fuck this website, goodcar.com. Don't use it. They're liars, because at this point, we're going to be talking about the 17-year-old who was almost killed in this hit and run. They have a photo of the car. They have a photo of the license plate. No arrests have been made. You want to tell me if this car hadn't hit a cop and driven off, that whoever was driving this car in that moment wouldn't only be behind bars, they'd probably be in ICU themselves. Okay?
Yeah.
This is bullshit. Absolutely. And you know, if there's anybody out there watching our program that is an insurance agent that is willing to confidentially run this plate for me so we can expose whoever owns this car. We don't know if the owner was driving it, but this is absolutely unfucking acceptable that this car and the police went to this house and the driver wouldn't come to the door and they left after this 17-year-old who almost lost her life and is still struggling to recover. Should we, I mean, come on, Ed, is it any surprise she's a person of color? There's no priority in figuring out who the motherfucker was that ran her down like this and drove off? And who are the cops protecting? That's what I want to know. Who are the cops protecting?
The update on this is that she's out of the ICU. So this is Nikari Campbell is recovering from a broken jaw, ribs, arm, foot, and leg. Her family said police have released a photo of the car and identified its owner, but continue to investigate. Why? We speculated in a previous episode that maybe it's either a person in government or a cop.
There's no other reason that they'd be covering this up or protecting them, or that there would be no arrest. No, none. In any other situation, they would have somebody in lockup. I don't know that the article goes on to share this. I would hope that her family has an attorney at this point that's trying to get to the bottom of things, because the liability and the personal injury that this poor 17-year-old suffered is just the cost. I mean, let's also speculate, Ed. What do you want to bet she doesn't have insurance? Okay, let's just speculate if she doesn't have insurance. Whoever was driving this car, their insurance company is going to be liable, or if they don't have insurance, they're going to be liable. And the cops are literally subverting anything that can expose. They know where they know the address of where the car is registered. No arrests. Why? It just makes me crazy to re-explore this story and hear how absolutely derelict the CPD are in their duties. Oh, by the way, on a separate note, you know, speaking of CPD, there was a story that ran last week where apparently there was this CPD officer who was arrested for grooming or sexually assaulting a minor. I didn't see the Chicago Authoritarian comment on that story while he was riding CPD dick.
And someone on the internet had located another story where they were basically they were praising him for some other thing that he had done, and it's like,
it's these shitty cops who aren't doing their jobs or protecting who knows who for what reason that give the good cops the bad name. Okay, not saying they're not good cops, man, but when you see a story like this, and I'll tell you something else, Ed. That story about the migrants being sexually assaulted in police headquarters, that COPA is now having a hard time finding people to come forward now and substantiate to build a case. I have no doubt it happened. I'm sure that those migrants got scared off. Guarantee you. I'm hoping. I mean, I'm not hoping because I want there to be victims in that crime, but I'm hoping that COPA is able to like uncover some explanation or some investigation into how that story how that story even had legs. And then suddenly it's like they couldn't find the people who filed the original complaints or went on the record that they were assaulted in the case of that one teenager who was impregnated.
So
where does that information come from and then it disappears? Somebody made it go away.
Yeah. Getting back to this story. This story. If you aren't familiar with this story, I'm just going to read this part of the article here. A 17-year-old girl severe. Yeah,
It's an indictment of CPD, though, Ed. Let me just say before you go on, it's an indictment of the system of CPD. All anybody on social media wants to do is protect them. We need them. We need to have all the authoritarians in power doing things to make us all feel safe when they are routinely not doing their job, as this story Ed's going to continue with. I'm sorry.
A 17-year-old girl severely injured in a hit and run at a busy Wicker Park intersection this month is slowly recovering, her family said, but police have yet to arrest someone in the case. At about 10:30 p.m. August 4th, Nakari Campbell was crossing Division Street at Ashland Avenue when the driver of a red Mercedes-Benz hit her. The driver continued driving west on Division even as Nakari was on top of the car, according to a police crash report and the teen's family. The driver then drove over Nakari after she fell off the car and dragged her down Division Street before fleeing, the crash report said. Nakari was taken to Stroger Hospital in serious condition, where she underwent several surgeries and was temporarily in a medically induced coma, her uncle, Anthony Hargrove, told Block Club earlier this month. They are doing reconstruction for her jaw. She has broken her ribs, her arm, her foot, her leg. She has to have a skin graft. All of her hair has been removed. She has staples in her head, Hargrove said before a press conference held by Nakari's family on August 8th. Now, after several weeks in the intensive care unit, Nakari has been moved to a different section of the hospital and is making progress on her recovery, Hargrove and Nakari's stepmother, Starlene O'Reilly, said Monday. The teenager is no longer in a coma and has been alert and speaking, although she has some short-term memory loss, they said. She doesn't quite remember the impact or anything. She obviously looks at her scars and she has some moments where she's like, man, I can't believe this. They had to remove all her front teeth, so that was another thing, Hargrove said. Overall, she's healing pretty well. They're saying it will be a long way to recovery totally, but she's doing better.
That's not well. I mean, I give the family a lot of credit for trying to, psychologically deal with this. She's lucky to be alive is what it is, and I'm sure they're grateful and thankful for that, despite her injuries. But this is a fucking horror show.
Yeah.
A horror show that the police are not doing their jobs, trying to find out who put this poor kid in this life-changing situation. Because I'll tell you something, Ed, even after she heals and she gets the skin grafts and she grows her hair back, you're talking about physical injuries that are going to follow her for the rest of her life. And I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah. Hargrove and Riley said they remain frustrated that police have yet to arrest the driver who struck the teenager, even though authorities have identified the owner of the car involved. The car is a 2008 Mercedes-Benz C350. The four-door sedan has dark-colored rims and tinted windows, according to police alert issued after the incident. It has a black hood and an Illinois license plate with the tag DC60012. They know all of this. They know whose car it is. Why aren't they doing anything? Now, I have speculation as to why Brendan Johnson may not be pressing on this yet. In that he has just appointed a new police commissioner and city council has not yet approved him.
Okay.
They need to confirm him, and then he needs to get his new commissioner on this ASAP. Now, I don't think it's
Ed, and you're right. That's actually makes a lot of sense.
Now, I don't think it's great that they're waiting and sitting on this. I think CPD, anyone in CPD who is letting them continue to let this go on like this is basically contributing to the problems that they have in police departments. You gotta say, look, people need to be held accountable for the things that they do. And if you can't, and look, we don't know whose car it is. Well, we personally don't know, but you do. So that person needs to be held accountable. and you need to tell us who it is. And that
the family says now she's supposed to start school her senior year, and she can't even start school because she's still in the hospital. And the perp is still out free.
It's it says the apparent lack of action has infuriated Nakari's family and friends, who held a press conference with their attorneys, urging police to do more to apprehend the driver. What more can they do at this point? And why are they sitting on this? What is the point of waiting?
Get into the next quote, Ed. Get into the next. Here's the real smoking gun, no pun intended.
If you can arrest somebody with a gun out here discharging that gun, then they can arrest the owner of this car, because that's a weapon too, community activist Andrew Holmes said at the time. More than 2 weeks later, a police spokesperson on Monday said there were still no updates in the case, and that the hit and run remains under investigation. Why? What more is needed to investigate here, other than why don't we find some street cameras to find out who was actually behind the wheel?
They know it, though. They're just not. Look, I think you speculated well last time we talked about this. When the details come out on who this driver was, it's going to be a shit show, because the fact that they're sitting on this and not doing anything clearly points to the fact they're trying to cover something up for somebody. And the only people we can imagine the police would cover up for would be their own ranks. Or I can't imagine this is a politician or public servant, but who knows?
And let's jump over to the chat really quick here.
You know what Dominic says? Could the car have been hijacked? If it was, Dominic, what would prevent the police from saying we're investigating because we think the car was hijacked?
Yeah, what purpose would it serve to not say something like
Easy
that?
answer. Easy answer to allay everybody's concerns that the CPD is covering something up.
Yeah, and it's not. And the car's not a Kia, so you can't blame it on the Kia boys with their little USB drives.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, all right, you know what? Actually, let's speculate here.
Okay.
If it had been hijacked, they could have said, yeah, and that's why we're still investigating. Simple as that. We went to the house that the car was registered to. The owners at the house said the car's not here. The car had been stolen. That's and you know, that's not going to tip off whoever was driving this car and hit the girl knows that there's a target on them because of the license plate and the fact that police are looking for this car. So,
and it's
let's pretend, let's imagine if that was the case. I'm sorry, let me just finish my thought before I forget it. It's a very, very simple statement to make, to say we went to where the car was registered, and the owners of this car said the car had been stolen, which is why the investigation is ongoing. It's a very simple statement to make, and it's not giving whoever stole the car some kind of advance opportunity to bail out of town. They know what they did. They were already out of town if the car was stolen. Clearly, if they know that there's going to be a hunt on for them if that car was stolen. So,
yeah. Hargrove said family and supporters have taken matters into their own hands, including hanging up flyers around the Belmont-Cragen neighborhood where the owner of the car is listed as living in the police crash report. We have to be intentional that this doesn't disappear, Hargrove said. We won't stop. We'll keep pushing, not just for Nakari, but to ensure this doesn't happen to any other family. Nakari's family has so far not launched any fundraisers to help cover her medical bills and expenses, though they may at some point, Hargrove and Riley said.
This next paragraph, oh my God.
Hargrove said they've identified at least 3 fake GoFundMe campaigns attempting to use the tragedy to raise money. Well, yeah, not shocked by that. A GoFundMe rep said there were no active fundraisers for Nakari or her family on the platform. So don't fall for that, people. While the teenager continues to heal at Stroger Hospital, her family doesn't have a date or timeline for when she might return to school. Hargrove said Nakari was getting ready to start her senior year at Legal Prep Charter Academy on the West Side when she was hit. In the meantime, family members continue to call on the driver who struck Nakari to turn themselves in and for neighbors to provide additional information to the police.
Now, keep in mind that they already reported that they went to the house and another family member told the police that the owner of the car is not coming to the door. So you got a family covering up for this piece of dog shit. Not even a piece of shit, piece of dog shit also.
We're resilient. We'll keep working at this and we won't give up. Hargrove said we won't disappear. So, and the article has information. It's like if you...
What? Anyone with information...
What more do they need to know?
Anyone with information about the driver of the incident can contact Chicago Police Major Accident.
Yeah, what information are they missing here? What little puzzle piece do they not have that they want us to provide here?
Again, if this car had struck a cop, a celebrity, or a city official, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, it's infuriating, and so I was like, right I'm like, good news, she's out of the ICU. Yeah. Bad news, they're still covering it up for some reason,
and she has no easy way back, especially with what they talked about in the article about the medical expenses. Okay, either the car owner is going to have insurance that should cover this, or the car owner is going to be liable, or they're going to go to jail, or all of the above. Okay? This girl needs to be taken care of given this crime. This is a crime. Vehicular, well, it wasn't vehicular manslaughter, but luckily it wasn't. What would we call this? Well, it's a hit and run. I don't know what the
vehicular assault?
Yeah, vehicular assault, maybe. Yeah.
I guess that's really it in a nutshell.
Dick on Rockfin says, just like I didn't see Bonfire of the Vanities. Now I'll have to check it out. But he says, just like Bonfire of the Vanities, it was even a Mercedes-Benz. So I'm assuming that there was a hit and run in Bonfire of the Vanities that got covered up by the main characters, or that had some relation to the main characters.
Oh, you're also burying the lead on the other thing Dick on Rockfin says. He said, I made a deep dish pizza. It must have weighed 20 pounds. Cost about $100. Dude, 20 pounds? No, dude. 20, no. You can't. Deep dish pizzas don't weigh 20 pounds.
Although you wish they did.
That you feel like you gained 20 pounds after you've eaten them. But
that's
no.
True.
So, moving on to slightly lighter topics. Italian cheesemakers microchip Parmesan in bid to fight copycats. This is from CBS News. And actually, there's a video from News Nation. I'm just going to play that one right now because this is fun. This is the fun part of the program.
Counterfeit cheese is a multi-billion-dollar business, and Italian cheesemakers say they are fed up. Parmigiano Reggiano is one of the most renowned cheeses in the entire world. It's earned protected designation of origin status in the 90s. So that means in order for it to be truly Parmesan, it needs to follow a strict list of guidelines. For starters, there are only 5 provinces in northern Italy where this cheese can be made. It only has 3 ingredients. It undergoes a production process which takes at least a year, and that's before it can even get the seal of approval. However, the Parmigiano Reggiano Consortium is adding another step, now placing small food-safe microchips in each reel of cheese to try and fight off the counterfeits once and for all. You heard that right. All right, let's bring in Randall Felt.
Now, before we talk to Randall, I'm going back to the CBS article here. One of the world's most famous cheeses is also one of the most counterfeited dairy products on the planet. I'm just going to make this so I can actually read the whole thing here. Competing manufacturers have for years produced cheaper imitations of Italy's Parmigiano Reggiano, a favored topping for pasta and salad. And they're some of you guys, when they go to the grocery store, if they have a really good cheese section, you'll see one of these gigantic wheels of Parmesan, and sometimes they'll cut through and like divide them in a bunch of pieces so they can sell them to customers, but very often they'll have one on display. They're huge. They're enormous. They do weigh like 100 pounds.
I love the way those things are branded too on the side. They look like big pieces of wood.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to chew on that rind, but it's, it's a protective rind that keeps the rest of the cheese, from going bad. Now, the producers of Parmesan Reggiano say they have innovated a way to prevent any pretenders from ripping off their product. And let's see, where's the part about the chip here? Yes. They are hopeful their new technology will help enforce that protected status. Their microchips are about the size of a grain of salt.
Wow.
And have been inserted into the labels found on the rind of about 120,000 wheels of Parmigiano Reggiano. The chips work as scannable food tags with the QR code label. Okay. Now, here's what freaks me out about this. And it's not the cheese. What freaks me out about this is there is a tracking microchip the size of a grain of salt, Cherry.
I hear where you're going with this.
And people could put that in or on anything.
Yep.
And while they say that these are more like scannable food tags, I can't imagine that there won't be a day, and maybe today, that day is today, when they may be trackable by satellites.
And I'm sure too, Ed, all the concerns people had. I mean, I think that the concerns of people saying they were having little nano chips in their vaccines several years ago during the pandemic, that was like crazy thinking. Now I wonder, maybe not so much.
Well,
if this technology
a grain
is
of salt, a grain of salt is probably not going to be able to get through a syringe. But
but let's speculate if they can do that. Maybe there was something smaller that would lend credence to a lot of the conspiracy theories people did have about getting injected with something. But look, they can still a grain of salt. You could spread this thing around and people wouldn't know it's in them anyway, given the size.
I mean, you could, but it's something that tiny could be implanted in clothing. It could be it could just be stuck to a sticker on a piece of fruit, or anything. They could drop it in your gas tank. They could put it, anywhere.
Dude, I'm sure they already are. We've just learned about it though because of this program with the cheese.
And I'm like, yeah, they're making a happy story out of this with, these guys making Parmesan in Italy and wanting to protect their patent or whatever and the legitimacy of their cheese, but that's not the story. The story is
with M-level James Bond technology.
The story is you have a microchip the size of a grain of salt.
Yep.
That's the story.
Good analysis.
And so,
or do you say anal cis?
No, we don't say that. We don't say that, Jerry. But speaking of anal cis,
he's going to start cleaning himself, probably in that area very soon.
Now, speaking of anal cis, let's go back to the News Nation and see what he has to say about this.
Seasoned cheesemonger who owns the beautiful rind joins us live. Randall, first of all, I have to say you are the first cheesemonger I have ever had the pleasure of interviewing. So thank you so much.
They really call them cheesemongers.
Yeah, that's an awesome name for a guy who's all about cheese, right? Like I'm a pizza monger.
That was, yep, there you go. You found the right term to use.
That's a great word, monger.
Monger, minion.
Immediately said,
familiar.
We have to do this. Has counterfeit cheese always been a problem?
Yeah,
absolutely. I think anytime there's a food product that's very popular, you can run across counterfeits. I think recently there's been plenty of stories about that in the wine world, and the cheese world is now getting the exposure to these problems that we see coming from a global economy.
All right. So before we talk about these new food safe microchips, what was being done before to try to stop counterfeiters? Because obviously it's been a problem and it's been a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. In the case of Parmigiano Reggiano, it's actually a really fascinating cheese. It's been made for hundreds of years, and over the past 10 and 20 years, they've instituted a lot of interesting protocols. For instance, all of the wheels that we get have a QR code that we're able to scan and find out all sorts of information from where it's made to the day that it was made, who was working that day, all sorts of things like that to be sure it's actually.
Oh, I'm just seeing them making pasta and putting it inside the giant wheel of Parmesan there.
This is Ed's food porn moment.
And I know he's talking about QR codes. I'm like, what are they burning a QR code onto the side of the rind? I guess that's modern day marking of stuff. And of course, that what they did was they would burn in their logos and labels and stuff and they would brand the outside of the rind. That's where you'd see it said Parmigiano all over it, right?
Actually coming from a source that is allowed to actually make the true Parmigiano.
And do you think that this new type of technology is needed because the problem, has really gotten that bad?
Yeah. So, we're very fortunate. We're a small shop, so we work very
Making me hungry,
directly
Ed.
with producers. I know the person that makes our Parmigiano Reggiano.
Now I want to get one of those giant wheels of Parmesan just so I can make pasta like that. But holy cow, would one of those things be super expensive? Yeah, Uncle Warren's confirming. There are mongers in this world. Fishmongers exist in New York City in the fish markets there. I'm sure fishmongers exist in many markets around the world.
But as the cheese gains popularity, you see people getting Parmigiano from all around the world, coming from all sorts of sources, and traceability becomes an issue. With QR codes, they're wonderful. They are easily copied. So you can get a QR code from, say, one wheel and just replicate it on another.
So what is the biggest threat when it comes to these knockoffs? Do you see these knockoffs coming from a particular region or a particular part? Are there Americans trying to do this? Kind of where is the biggest source of this problem?
Sure. I couldn't speak to the true absolute counterfeit Parmigianos. I think in my case, we have to do a lot of education about Parmesan, S-A-N versus Parmigiano, A-N-O. Parmesan can be made, well, pretty much anywhere around the world. Most of it comes from either Wisconsin or actually Argentina.
Wisconsin or Argentina. Okay. Yeah, in America, it's a lot harder for them to try and do this kind of thing with microchips and stuff, just because there are so many great cheesemakers in America just making stuff that's similar to Parmesan, but I don't think they're actually calling them Parmesan. It depends on where you go. If you want Parmesan Reggiano, you pretty much can count on the cheese mongers in your grocery store to be providing you with the real deal. But there are many other varieties in America that they just call Parmesan, and they could be made anywhere. That green plastic can that you get from Kraft or other providers, with the shakeable stuff, that's not coming from Italy. So that was our cheese portion. That was our cheese course for Chicago Corner this evening. I want to thank you all for sticking around for my ridiculousness as we tell you about the crazy, nefarious things going on in plain sight, like microchips the size of the grain of salt.
And the fact that all of our leaders of industry and government and finance and medicine are James Bond level villains.
Yeah, it's getting real scary in a lot of ways in this world. So I think it's important for us to try and find the humor where we can, and also be able to find ways to wrap our heads around the things going on in this world. And then we've reached the portion of the show where I really didn't have a lot of time to prepare, called This Day in History. And this is where we look at stuff that happened on August 22nd, or talk about stuff that happened on August 22nd in different areas of time. On this day, August 22nd, 2023, Oreo staring at you on a live stream, and he's judging you. He's like, yeah, you know what you did. But that's okay, man. He's saying, hit the like button, share the stream.
Buy my merch.
Yes, buy my merch. The ones with the laser eyes are my favorite. Although they got those ones that look like the old style logo, which are pretty cool too. They say Oreo Stream Cat.
What a silly pint glass.
All right. Yeah. So
what actually did happen this day in history?
Purchase merch at chicagocornertv.com/shop, or go to chicagocornertv.com and click on the thing that tells you to purchase merch. What happened today, August 22nd?
Oreo wills it.
Yes, Oreo commands you. Purchase my t-shirts. Buy my lovely mugs and pint glasses. Hurricane Andrew in 1992 struck the Bahamas, and 2 days later made landfall in South Florida, followed by southern Louisiana. Hurricane Andrew was a Category 5 hurricane and had some of the highest winds ever recorded, 175 miles per hour. Was the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history at that moment in time, in 1992. Later surpassed by Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Okay. In 1902, President Theodore Roosevelt, on August 22nd, became the first president to ride in an automobile in public when he was driven around Hartford, Connecticut in a Victoria automobile. On this day in 1902, also was the first day that Cadillac existed as an automobile company in Detroit.
Oreo likes where you're going with this, Natalie.
Why do I feel like whipping out my debit card? Because you want some fancy, stylish merchandise from the Chicago Corner merch shop.
Oreo says,
Do it. Do it.
Let's see if I can get it up here. And the merch shop looks like this. We got our classic Chicago Corner mug. We got another mug. It's got Oreo on it. Pretty awesome. Then we got Laser Eye Jerry and Oreo. Oreo's on the back of that. Jerry just showed you that a minute ago. We got our Stream Cats Oreo style merchandise, which is pretty stylish. And Chuck the Alien snuck in to throw this in the merch shop as well. Chuck's Intergalactic Pizza Delivery, finest pizzas from planet Earth, as seen on Chicago Corner TV. And I highly recommend the wonderful butter colored t-shirt. It's a lovely shade of yellow. And but it does come in other colors in many sizes. So,
Kathy wants some Chon merch. I'm going to have to whip that up. I actually
yeah,
was experimenting with AI illustrations, Kathy, to be able to do that without have any copyright infringements. So that it was funny. The Lori Lightfoot as a leprechaun AI images that came through didn't look like Lori Lightfoot and didn't make her look like a leprechaun. So the AI clearly was not aware of her shenanigans dressing up as a leprechaun for St. Patty's Day here in Chicago. But I'll look into some other programs to see if we can come up with some fun Lori Lightfoot Tron merchandise.
Returning to this day in history, August 22nd. What else happened today? There are a lot of war stuff happened on this day in history. See if anything of note here. August 22nd, 1941, Germany attacks Leningrad as part of Operation Barbarossa, but failed in its capture and are forced to start a siege of the city known as the Siege of Leningrad. And then same day in 3 years later, 1944, Hitler promises to destroy landmarks in Paris. So that's always fun when they do that. Yeah, not a good guy, that Hitler.
That Hitler, no, he was not a good guy.
Not a good guy.
He was every time I saw George Bush on his rehabilitation tour, after all the millions of people in the Middle East he and his buddy Swingin' Dick Cheney slaughtered. Remember, he went on the Ellen show to show off his paintings, Bush? Like, yeah, Hitler was a painter too.
Yeah, they shouldn't be rehabbing either one of those guys.
Hitler was an artist too, so let's stop trying to rehabilitate war criminals.
Okay, what else happened? Politics, war. In August 22, 1972, Rhodesia forced out of the Olympics. Rhodesia is thrown out of the Olympic Games in the face of mounting international pressure and pressure from African nations who threatened to boycott the Games if Rhodesia didn't finish their sentence. If they didn't, okay. That happened. Okay. Yeah, the Israel-Palestine conflict has been going on a while. They mentioned that 241 Palestinians were killed in Israel, on August 22nd, 1988.
And I got to step away for a sec. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. So while Jerry is stepping away, I'm going to scroll down to all the other this day in history things and see if there's anything else worth talking about in here. In August 22nd, 2006, although the United Nations demanded that Iran stop uranium enrichment, Tehran remains defiant. UN inspectors were turned away, and the nuclear non-proliferation treaty has been violated. It is feared that Iran will develop the atomic bomb. Yeah, well, America's already got that. And so deterrence and all that. Okay, what else? What else happened on August 22nd? Oh, yeah. Remember that jerk Jimmy Kimmel? His first, I think his first show? No, they first announced that he was going to be doing a late night talk show on August 22nd, 2012 to go up against Jay Leno and David Letterman, both of which no longer doing late night shows. Now, some of you out there may not even know what late night TV shows are because they're on regular terrestrial television over the air, and they're not as popular as they used to be because most people just like streaming multiple programs and not watching late night comedy type entertainment like late night shows used to provide. Well, they still provide because Jimmy Kimmel's still doing a show, but there aren't too many of those shows left. Okay. Oh, and then this is a fun one. August 22nd, 2013. U.S. officials admitted that the NSA, National Security Agency, illegally collected tens of thousands of personal emails between U.S. citizens. The emails had no links to suspected terrorists, and the program was deemed illegal by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court in 2011. This only added to the criticism of the U.S. surveillance program after leaks furnished by Edward Snowden. And as I complete that portion of this day in history, we are now headed to the cat cam. Are we looking? We're looking for all the cam. We don't have your audio on. I should probably unmute you here since you're roaming. I'll mute your. Can I mute your mic and unmute the other mic? No, won't let me mute. Okay, you don't have audio running on the other one. So if you're talking, I can't hear you, Jerry. But that's okay. He's roaming. And can I feature? Let's see if we can feature him. Nope. Let's swap the cameras. Here we go. There we are. Of course, he's back now.
Boom.
Now that the camera's off, I have it highlighted. Okay.
I'm back.
He's back.
I had to make
so I saw Oreo. Who was that? Who was the other one that
was Selena, and I wanted to show on the way back from the restroom. It was Black Cat Appreciation Day the other day, so that was Selena who was lounging on the black container, and then Sylvester was lounging on the dining room table. He's my senior. That's my family. The others, we talk about them often, but the other two don't like. I guess they're camera shy. Oreo's the little ham, but I figured why not share a little cat appreciation.
So I was looking at my This Day in History thing that I usually bring the stories up from, and as you heard, a lot of it is just about different wars and conflicts and all that other stuff. And I'm like, that's not fun. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I look up and see if there were any movie release dates that happened on August 22nd? There's a few.
Any good ones?
Let's take a look. Remember the House Bunny from 2008?
Barely.
So yeah,
Anna Faris is pretty funny. I haven't seen her do anything for a long time.
Yeah, that's one where Anna Faris is playing basically the kind of girlfriend House Bunny housemate to a bunch of playmates at the Playboy Mansion.
No, I don't think that's what it was. I think that she was.
I thought that's what that was.
No, she was a former Playboy playmate or bunny that was like the house mom in a sorority. I think that's what the House Bunny was about.
Oh, is that what that? Okay,
I think
we'll have to,
maybe
I'll have to watch it again.
But I think that was the whole joke of the movie was that she was a Playboy. She had a Playboy affiliation, but she was tasked with like helping these girls in a sorority.
Oh, right. So like she got kicked out of the house of the mansion, I think is what it was. Yeah.
I didn't see it. I'm just going on what I remember from trailers and press.
I don't know what the Cheetah Girls are.
Here it is.
That makes me
Playboy Bunny Shelley Darlington. Wow, talk about an archetype name.
Shelley Darlington
gets kicked out of the Playboy Mansion and takes up a job as a house mom for a sorority of awkward girls. The sorority needs Shelley's help to become cool or they will be shut down. Adam Sandler produced the film. Some scenes in the film were shot in the real Playboy Mansion, which, as I understand, was completely gutted and is being remodeled for some kind of a amazing reveal. When I don't know who purchased the mansion after Hef kicked the bucket, but
it's not
as gross as you imagine it would be inside from all of the bodily fluids all over the place.
I've heard stories.
Yeah, there was an elegance to the old school like woodwork and interior decoration of the place. So I'm really curious to see what we're going to see in there once the new renovation is revealed and who owns it.
Yeah, I haven't been paying attention to who currently is owning that thing, but it's, it got sold. So yeah, there's a Mimic. 1997 was a horror movie directed by Guillermo del Toro. And it is about these giant creature, like moth-shaped creatures that are basically hiding in plain sight, like looking like humans until it's too late.
Natalie shares that the picture in her profile pic is her cat. So first of all, Natalie shares she's got 3 cats and a wolf, which is amazing. I think wolves are. I could never have a wolf, although I think that they'd be amazing pets given their lineage with dogs.
An actual wolf.
So she says his brother Leo is in my pic. He was 6 months. Oh no. Okay, so it's a wolf in her pic, not a cat. His brother Leo's in my pic. He was 6 months old then. He died in 2020 of a thrombosis of the liver. Tank came to live with me shortly thereafter. He's going on 14 now. That's cool to have domesticated wolves. Cool, Natalie. I like that.
It's also that's also a little scary, I think, because they domesticated, dogs so they wouldn't have to domesticate wolves, right? Or don't the wolves have a little more of a wild streak? Or I get maybe you can tame them.
I've seen not domesticated tigers for household living, but I have seen like some really touching videos of trainers with big cats, like lions or leopards. And I saw this one video of this Russian trainer like petting the big tiger, and it was like Oreo or one of my other cats. Like it just loved the affection its trainer was giving. You could tell that it was very gentle with its trainer because it trusted its trainer. Mm-hmm. So if you got the right trainer, and I think the other thing too is you've got to train them from a very early age so they learn to trust humans. And although you're not going to completely get rid of their predatory natural instincts, if you domesticate them at an early age, they're going to be much more docile or gentle with humane humans.
Natalie says he's 1/4 Arctic wolf, 1/2 timber wolf, and 1/4 Malamute. Okay.
Cool.
So a domesticated wolf breed, mixed breed. Okay. So because I would be concerned. I mean, some of these animals, like they come from the wild, and there's a reason why they should probably stay there. Like you were talking about the domesticated tigers. No, they're just toying with you.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting you should domesticate a tiger and bring it to the house. But when you see trainers dealing with tigers in captivity, I mean, as Natalie says here, you have to be the alpha and be consistent so that they are gentle with you, because they could kill you if you set them off.
Yeah, but even the trainers, can get mauled. I mean, we heard the stories about Siegfried and Roy. So,
but did Siegfried and Roy really treat them as humanely as maybe we imagine they did?
Well, we don't know if they treated them humanely. I'm saying they, some of them got attacked by their animals.
Oh, their animals got tired of working so hard to benefit their rich.
I got tired of your shit. Swap.
Their rich owners making them work all the time in Las Vegas, 24/7.
Yeah. Anyway, what other?
I wonder if they rotated their cats. Yeah. They just, because you could honestly, to be serious here and not funny about it, I would imagine that animals would probably get tired and not want to perform as often as they probably did in Las Vegas. So I wonder if they had like a rotation of big cats that they brought in for their performances, because at a certain point, maybe those cats just were like, enough's enough, man. We're tired of being overworked, and they struck back.
Yeah, maybe they had a rotation. That seems
or a workplace grievance.
Yeah, they had different cat shifts. First shift, second shift.
I don't think they did. I think that they overworked the cats. I think maybe that's why they got a little temperamental and decided to exact some retribution for their I was going to say not slavery, but indentured servitude. That's the words I was looking for.
Big cats are a whole nother thing, Natalie says.
Hey, I'm a big cat.
Yeah, he is. All right, other movies that opened August 22nd. Death Race. Now this is not the, I think Death Race is a remake, isn't it? Because like the one in 2008 was released today. And that was actually pretty good. That was entertaining for me. Death Race.
Never saw it.
Okay. Jason Statham is in that. It's pretty good action flick, entertaining. G.I. Jane released today in 1997.
That was a big deal when it came out.
Same day as Mimic? Okay.
Proving once again that strong female action heroes are not necessarily a new phenomenon, as a lot of young Hollywood actresses would like you to think, because they just suddenly got famous. We've had it since the early 70s, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, actresses, they don't always pay attention to the stuff that happened in the past. You know, they're not every actor is a big movie file, right? They don't all watch movies. Some of them just want to act in them.
Have you seen this new Snow White, or should I call her Snow Woke, actress that they're roasting on social media?
No, and I don't care what they do with that.
Well, this is related to what we're talking about. Rachel Zegler. She headlined in Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story, and she's the live action actress for Disney's live action remake of Snow White. And dude, she is all over social media, just making a mess. She's like 20 years old, complete narcissist, completely just dismissing all of the magic of what the original Snow White cartoon was back in 1937. Because now she doesn't need to be saved. She doesn't need a prince to rescue her. It's all about empowerment and being. And didn't you always imagine Snow White was about being a girl boss? That's just what seems like this current generation of young actresses feel about female roles. Let's go back to what we were just talking about. G.I. Jane, great, fantastic, strong female character that Demi Moore played. She was a woman who enlisted in the military. There was no messaging there. She was just a strong chick, and she was, doing what she needed to do to get stuff done without elevating herself over everybody else, the way a lot of actresses do in films today, where there are other genders involved. So it's like, I'm just, we don't have to talk about Rachel Zegler, but it does kind of relate to this whole, it's just a weird phenomenon, Ed. This current generation of, wokeness used to be, it was a good thing to be awake and to be aware, but like so many things, it's like gone off on the other extreme now to where it seems to be like a weapon. It's not about equity. It's about like weaponizing something to give somebody else an edge. And it's easy for people to like have these culture war arguments and conversations, because unfortunately, where the focus should be with equity gets taken in another direction. So other people with other agendas can suddenly like elevate themselves or be more powerful or have more control than everybody else should be equal to. So,
Fred
hey
Edward
man,
asked,
you brought up G.I. Jane.
I brought up movies that came out that were released today. Fred Edward asks, is Snow White kissing herself awake from the poison apple? Yeah,
No.
see, that's the thing. It's like if you've got a classic movie and story and you're trying to make a modern version of this, what elements do you hang on to and which ones are you flexible about? And you're saying, at least I'm getting from you, Jerry, that they're overdoing it.
Here's the fact of the matter. The original Snow White was about a prince who decided to like act against his own class and his interests because he fell in love with Snow White, And he basically sacrificed things to rescue her because he was in love with her, and she was in love with him also. She wasn't sure she was in love with him, but he sacrificed things to rescue her. Okay, another era. There was an evil witch in Snow White, right? Who it was more about she's the fairest, she's the most beautiful. Okay, now what does Rachel Zegler go on social media and say? Well, this movie's not going to be about that. You know, Snow White 1937 was about Snow White, and the prince was essentially like a stalker. No, he wasn't.
Really?
You've got it all wrong. That's how she's painting what Snow White was. And then now Snow White's mission is, it's not about love. It's not about finding love. It's not about finding a relationship. Like, those are bad things. They shouldn't complete you. But why are we knocking love and relationships and romance? Because now Snow White is all about finding her power to rule instead of the evil queen. And it's like, honey, that's not what Snow White was about. And to basically reimagine it that way is feeding into this woke culture war nonsense that everybody's knocking themselves over, arguing about all the time. Look, you want to make that movie, go make that movie. That's fine. But stop taking something that existed as what it was, an artifact of its time that was beloved and about romance and everything else. You want to make the movie about a woman in that time finding her power. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But why do why do people in Hollywood today have to constantly take the work of other people, reimagine it into something that it never was supposed to be, and then claim authorship and creativity over it? And like they're doing something special when they're not, because they can't create something of their own. So yeah, the whole Rachel, but getting back to G.I. Jane, which we were talking about, opened back in 1997. We've had strong female characters for decades that didn't have to remind everybody that they were strong female characters, like today's generation of
Sigourney Weaver as Ripley in Alien.
Linda Hamilton. Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor. Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. Demi Moore as G.I. Jane. I would even say Arnold Schwarzenegger's True Lies with Jamie Lee Curtis. She fucking kicked ass in it. And they didn't need to remind us they were strong female characters. Like, everybody was involved in the adventure together. It wasn't like, well, I have to be stronger by stepping over somebody else. And, to a certain degree, too, I don't even recall, maybe I'm selectively remembering, Ed, and if I am, correct me, but I don't remember male action movies necessarily showing how great the guy was by stepping all over how weak women were. Because women aren't weak, and they weren't. That's the essence of adventure movies.
I mean,
it's all about this message.
A lot of times, the movie industry overcompensates for what seemed to be a dynamic that leaned one way too far in one direction, and then they would lean it back way too far in the other direction to compensate. And like, okay, that could be fun for a little while for a certain number of movies, but at a certain point, get over that and just tell the stories. Just find an interesting and good way to tell the story without distorting the hell out of it if you're retelling the story, and just make it something entertaining and worth watching.
Yeah, I agree. And stop reimagining. And so Matt mentions in the chat, Audiophile, Snow White and the Huntsman was a good modern retelling. Yeah, it was. And it wasn't at the expense of like destroying what came before in the cartoon or mocking it or acting like it was a horrible movie of its time. Yeah, Zegler's, I can't find the exact clip, Ed, but the headlines are like Rachel Zegler is facing a huge backlash on social media for the way that her comments make you feel like she didn't even like the original Snow White. So why are you playing the character right now and capitalizing on it? So that was
Arturo,
a little rabbit hole down.
Yeah. Arturo says it's like, hey, let's give Spock emotions and make a movie of it. Let me mention something to you, Arturo. You know that Spock is half human, right? He's not full Vulcan. So, and Vulcans do have emotions. They just learned how to suppress them. So yeah, this is the Star Trek portion of the program here. So to understand that he is half human, it means he's probably had to struggle even harder with his emotions since he is half human, and we are extremely emotional creatures. So I wouldn't give people a lot of guff when they start to show the modern versions of Spock in ways where he's showing more emotion than Leonard Nimoy originally showed in the first series. And even in that series, there were episodes where he showed emotion. So it's not completely unheard of that, it's just that Vulcans, they got a tight lid on them, right? It's, it's like don't let their entire function is don't let everything take over your life based on emotion, because irrational stuff very often causes you to head down a very bad path. And so I understand where Vulcans are coming from, but I think it's foolish to think that Spock can never have emotions.
I sent
you got a link.
Yeah,
Yes.
so people have some context. I sent you a link in the private chat from Variety.
Okay.
It's worth seeing. I mean, so we have some I'm not making this up.
All right, let me get this thing ready to go here. Okay.
And apparently she may have been dropped from the project because this movie's not coming out for another year, but the publicists at Disney have got so much damage control now as a result of how she's facing this backlash for how dismissive she is about what.
And this is from
Variety.
11 months ago.
Okay. Yeah. And now this is all coming out because of the strike. People didn't see this 11 months ago, but now people have been finding these comments, and since it's a slow news day in entertainment and they've been promoting Snow White, people found these old videos and it's like, what the F is wrong with her? She clearly does not know how to manage herself with publicity.
Crying on that stage.
When am I not crying in public? It's so upsetting.
Why were you crying?
Oh my gosh, I saw the we didn't even see. But I saw the logo and I went, that's my name. Snow White's up there, and I cried my eyes out.
What was it like seeing yourself for the first time in full Snow White drag?
I love that description. It's perfect. Oh my God. Well, when you get to wear Sandy Powell, first of all, insane. And then you get to be lit by Mandy Walker, and Nadia Stacey designed your hair and makeup. It's like the most incredible
It's a 2-minute clip,
but and then all of a sudden you open your eyes and you watch the playback, which I never do. And I saw myself on screen and I just wanted to throw up. I was so happy about it. And it was the most incredible experience. And the fan reaction was insane. We didn't even see what they were clapping for. I think it was good. I don't know.
Sizzle. We didn't see anything. We're still waiting.
You see yourself as the evil queen. You are not evil. You are not evil. You're a queen, but you're not evil. What was it like seeing yourself as the evil queen for the first time?
We did not see the clip, so I still haven't seen anything. But when I'm
just pausing it really quick. How are they not seeing any of it?
What I'm trying to figure out, Ed, is how do they decide Gal Gadot? How do they decide Rachel Zegler is fairer and more beautiful than Gal Gadot? That's what I'm wondering. But it's taking a little bit to get to the point of her. And this wasn't the only interview that she did.
A long clip.
This isn't the only interview she did where she completely bungled it. But this is the quickest one I found on YouTube.
In Mega, just like she said, we got to work with such an amazing crew, and it was just like the best it could ever be. I must say that for me, also the transition for the old hag was incredible because it was all real prosthetics and all of that.
You were in the chair for like 4 hours.
4 hours and changing the voice and everything. I feel so lucky that I got to play something that is so far from what I know and what I'm used to. And I super, super enjoyed every second of it.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it.
Here we go.
On stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
right? Okay, so I'm not. I mean, and she's just so smug about it. Like, so what's wrong with like the classic elements of what people was a beloved cartoon, whether it was 1937 or any time? She's just like so dismissive of it.
The whole true love thing is a timeless. It's a timeless element to this story. For them to just say it's not 1937 anymore. Look, I was saying it just a little while ago. It's fine to want to make a movie a little more modern, right? And to upgrade it to be more to modern day, but there are some elements you don't mess with.
Let her go on to hang herself here because it gets better.
Yeah. Let me see what else she has to say.
Can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
To see themselves in. It's
I'm launching my campaign. I am.
All right, Ed, one more. Here's
Not everything has to be not everything has to be a girl power movie.
I'm all for girl power. I got no problem with it. But again, it's like to the degree you know what's a great girl power movie, Ed? Wonder Woman. Because Gal Gadot, Diana, Wonder Woman, did not prove how great she was by stepping all over Steve Rogers. I'm sorry, not Steve Rogers, Steve Trevor. They worked together. He recognized how powerful and amazing she was, and she recognized he had some things to teach her about humanity since she was a goddess. It was like a beautiful love story, where she was completely like overpowered to the male. So, but it wasn't about like, I'm better than you. You know, it's like why the genders should like recognize the strengths in each other. Play this other clip too. This is the real cringe one that's hilarious. This is what got her in this is what pushed things over the edge for her.
Okay, I may have to flip it up and down in order to get it to start at the beginning because they got this dumb thing from Instagram where you have no video controls. That's right. I want to hit the pause button. I want to rewind and start it from the beginning. Instead, I got to watch the whole thing over again.
Do you got to just reload it?
This one will let me start at the beginning by doing this.
A man in my...
Hold on.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Stalks her. She said that.
Yeah, I told you she said it. And then she makes these faces like it's just like, get rid of her, man. This is not, I mean, she's clearly a 20-year-old who's gotten famous and powerful really, really early and doesn't understand how to manage it or doesn't understand how like really cringe she looks because she's suddenly the big hot thing right now.
So, so this was released. This is out.
No, it comes out in about a year, but I don't think it's finished yet. And now I'm reading some reports that Disney might be trying to backpedal and drop her from it. I don't know how, since the movie's either in the can or still in production. I don't know.
Weird. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a...
She's really...
Yeah.
Who gave her? Did somebody give her these talking points, or did she develop this opinion on her own?
I think it's a little of both. I think they gave her the role. They gave her the talking points because she, in a couple interviews, she talks about how, I forgot the exact phrase, but something about being fair, just, and true, and the leader that she's supposed to be. She repeats that in a couple interviews. So I'm like, oh, those are clearly publicist talking points. Who clearly doesn't understand those are, yeah. But I mean, she's obviously bought into it very much because she seems very, very committed and dedicated to the mindset. Anyway, yeah, thank you, Natalie. Why can't they create something? They have a couple times, but look, they go back to like reimagining characters, beloved characters, cartoons, because it's easier for them to like lean on existing IPs, intellectual properties that people already have a familiarity with, even though they spend a lot of money to remarket them. It's easier to market something old than come up with something and convince people they should go see it because it's new and untested. This is the problem with Hollywood right now. And we've gone into this whole fatigue with a lot of beloved properties like the Marvel movies or the Star Wars movies, where even those Star Wars burned out. Marvel burned out. You know, somebody who is introducing something new that I'm really excited to see where it goes is Zack Snyder's got a movie coming out on Netflix called Rebel Moon. Completely brand new IP. Completely brand new IP. Everyone's going to go see it because they love Zack Snyder as a director, but it's not. It's an unproven thing that Netflix decided to take a risk on. It's like, hey man, we need new intellectual property. We need new characters. We got to stop leaning on all this old stuff or reimagining the old stuff where we destroy the essence and the beauty of what the original stuff was. Yeah, Natalie, you're right. Hollywood is suffering. And it's not because there aren't creative people out there. It's because, unfortunately, and I know I'm going to sound horrible saying this, Ed, you know, I'm as left, I hope you know I'm as left-leaning as I think I am, but it's because you really do have a lot of people in Hollywood now who are pushing a message and an agenda, not worried about creating entertaining stuff. It is about pushing a political and a cultural agenda now. And I never imagined I would ever see that in Hollywood, but here we are. And I think it's important to give equity and equal time. And here's an example. Okay, so which was the character that they recast? I'm forgetting which character that was a white character. Okay, so let's talk about Little Mermaid. Disney did a live action remake of The Little Mermaid and cast an African American actress.
So
Little Mermaid is a Danish fairy tale that evolved from that western part of Europe. And then people say, well, are you saying that mermaids can't be black? No. But why don't you create a story with a really strong black African American character that is its own? Why? It's like it's because they're too lazy to do that. It's like, oh, well, let's be edgy. Let's make Little Mermaid a black character. It's like, but she wasn't, and it has nothing to do with the culture or the heritage. Right.
That particular
story,
I don't care. I don't care what color.
But you know what, Ed? I'll tell you something. There are plenty of black people who are pissed off that Hollywood does that because they would rather see new and original stories created that are new and original black characters. It's the cheap and lazy way out by not creating the new characters or not exploring black culture or black cultural fairy tales where you could, why not find the stuff that's actually culturally connected to African Americans and black people and spend a lot of money on that. And look, they did it with Black Panther. It's a Marvel movie, fantastic movie. It was tapped into African American culture. I'll tell you what, I'm sure there'd be as much of an uproar if they decided to recast Black Panther as with Ryan Gosling as they decided. Why is it different? Black Panther's a fictional character.
We're not talking.
But why is it different?
He's a fictional human, though. You're talking.
Oh, and the Little Mermaid's not a fictional human.
No, a mermaid is a mythological creature, Jerry.
Superheroes are mythological creatures, Ed. Look, it's ridiculous to even suggest somebody cast Ryan Gosling as Black Panther. Okay, what I'm saying is a lot of people miss the other way when you've got source material that came from a culture that's white. Instead of like deciding, oh, let's cast a black actor, a person of color as that character. Why not find the stories about people of color, the mythological stories of people of color that are actually organic to the culture, and present and celebrate that? That's the point. Too often we're seeing it. But again, getting back to the whole messaging and political angles and agendas of modern Hollywood, it's more about pushing an agenda and sending out a message that this is why we see this actress who thinks Snow White needs to be reimagined in ways that, no, go create something new. Stop changing things that are beloved by people that were popular because of what they were. Create something original. This goes back to Natalie's point. Why there's a creative bankruptcy. Yes, Natalie, create a new mermaid, alien folktales. That's what I'm pointing to.
Yeah,
on my screen, Jerry leans right, Ed is left. Well, I'm not. This is not a right or left issue. I just think that this is an issue about how you process creativity, and I would
and also
never
how you process rebooting other old stories into something new.
You know, something Disney will never recast. They will never do Jungle Book with an African American actor.
Well, they're never going to do Jungle Book again.
Well, but I'm saying, if you're that worried about diversity and equal representation, you know why they wouldn't cast a person of color as in Jungle Book or Tarzan.
Well,
because
it has to do with the subject of the actual story.
Right. Well, and as does all these other fairy tales we're talking about. So anyway,
yeah,
that was a whole ditch to drive off into. But
I guess
talking about strong female characters like G.I. Jane, that we brought it full circle now, just so people understand why we went in this direction.
Speaking of strong female characters, you guys got to see this. This woman, she has a channel called Katina Eats Kilos. And here she is. This is a month ago.
Oh, that looks delicious.
In South Australia, eating what appears to be a Chicago-style stuffed pizza. And they're giving her, I think, 30 minutes to do it. And I'm like, or however long, but she's got the timer going here. And sure, she goes, and I'm like, I'm lucky to get through maybe 2 of those slices before I'm damn near stuffed. Especially with the stuffed pizzas, there's so much more cheese in them, maybe double the amount, maybe triple than a regular deep dish pizza. But here she is, super short woman. She's tiny. She's very fit, and but she doesn't have a stomach that is the size of this pizza. So clearly it expands while she's eating. But I'm like, there's no way she's going to do this. And on top of that, she doesn't just have to eat the entire pizza here. She's got to eat this thing of fries over here as well. Now here she is 2 minutes down. I'm going to fast forward through
What size do you think that is? A medium? That looks like a medium, not a large.
That looks like a 12-inch pizza. That's a really huge stuffed pizza that she's got there.
I could eat one of those in one sitting, and probably about, I bet I could beat her. I mean, I'd be full real quick, but
it could be a 14, but still, it's a huge, huge piece of pizza with a ton of cheese. She's 13 and a half minutes in now. She's got 2 slices left. Here she is working on second to the last slice here. This is amazing to me. And then, wait, hold on. I missed it here. So, she's just started on the last slice at 17 minutes in.
Now you're making me want to go over to Chicago's Pizza and grab some by the slice.
No, I'm
always
sorry
do this. You always got to talk about pizza and make me hungry.
I'm sorry to do this to you, Jerry. It's just we were talking about strong women, and holy cow. I saw this video and I'm like, oh, I mean, this woman is incredible.
Strong stomach is what she's got.
Here we are, 21 minutes and 37 seconds. So like she's on her last little bite here, just under 22 minutes.
So this was a competition where people were showing how quickly they could eat pizza.
Apparently, this is a pizza challenge in Australia at the place she's
Chicago.
at.
I wonder if they ordered the pizza from Chicago and had it flown in with dry ice like Lou Malnati's ships.
No, they probably made it there. I mean, it's not that hard to make stuffed pizza. You just need pizza dough, cheese, and all the ingredients. But there she is, 21 minutes and 55 seconds. She's eaten an entire plate of fries and an entire stuffed pepperoni deep dish stuffed pizza. Then she's got this giant mug of beer. I think that's part of the challenge too. So here she goes, and she's halfway through the beer already.
Oh, looks delicious.
This is This is insane. Here she goes. She's downing the rest of it. She's going to be done in less than 25 minutes. Then she's belching. I should turn the audio on so we can hear her belching. Hold on.
Oh, those were juicy. You wanted me to stop. Ugh.
"23 minutes and 51 seconds.
My God. I'm listening to what you're saying, but since we were talking about Snow White, Disney has canceled the project.
Really?
They were in production.
Oh,
Disney
that's a
abandoned
shame.
Snow White, reported permanent cancellation. Disney's version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the live-action remake, Disney, blah, 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 blah. Let me get to the end of this. Zegler has been the subject of much criticism over comments she made in an attempt to promote the new live-action version. The comments drew the ire of many fans who believe this will be another failed attempt from Disney, but it's not the only thing that's been met with backlash. An entire disagreement broke out last year with the film's casting and changes to be more inclusive and politically correct. Many actors spoke out against Peter Dinklage after he called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs an insult. And he's, I think, the only actual dwarf that's playing one of the supporting cast of dwarfs. So it goes on to say, with so much backlash already surrounding the film and the movie's lead role not making things any better, one viral report indicated that Disney was canceling the film altogether. Wait, is this truth or not? Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Apparently it came from a unconfirmed source, but I'm seeing all over Google right now this story is spreading, so we'll see. Oreo.
Well, that was a pretty good show. Wasn't
Yeah,
too
it was.
bad. I mean, we had a lot of ground to cover. We even talked about a few things we didn't plan on talking about, but I hope you all had a good time and enjoyed the program this evening. And if you'd like to support this program continuing on into the future, we would very much appreciate if you would support us at patreon.com/Chicago Corner. And for people who donate at least $5 a month, you have the additional opportunity, if you want to come on and be a guest on our program. That could be fun. We could talk about stuff you might want to talk about. And if you're trying to find us and you're like, wait, I forget what the channel's called, go to chicagocornertv.com. You can watch us on that website if you want to. We embedded the program, so like when we're live on Tuesday or Friday evenings, you can watch us right on there. Or you can click on any of the social media links where we are streaming our program on places like YouTube and Rockfin and Twitter and Facebook and I think Jerry's LinkedIn. And I think that's it for now, but we're going to try to get on more platforms. And what else? Yes, there are other things on ChicagoCornerTV.com. You can go to links for different types of community services, and you can report potholes. You can download the Brandon Bingo card. You can see a picture of Oreo at the top, along with me, Jerry, and Kira. And there are useful links to other things, and I can't remember them off the top of my head. What are they called? Oh, they're called, we got our Twitter feed in there. Useful links, mutual aid, etc. is the title of the section. You can donate to a food bank. You can find mutual aid near you. You can donate to the night ministry. If you need help paying utilities, there's a website called communityutility.org. Their Plow the Sidewalks organization, there's a link to them. There is our Man, I Suppose voting guide, which will be helpful to you in the next upcoming municipal election. I was hoping that it was helpful to some people in the last mayoral election. There is a link to one of our Patreon supporters' websites, constituentpolling.org. So, Dominic, thank you for being a Patreon supporter, and we hope that you have success in modifying the way that government works, because we know that it's got a lot of problems. We have a link to our Chicago Corner manifesto, which I guess we may need to update or mutate into something new, because we now have an elected mayor and we have ideas on what we can do with this city.
A work in progress. Art asks in the chat, Jerry, are you going to watch the Ashoka Star Wars show? You mean Awoka? Awoka?
Oh, come on now.
Ed, I'm worried. No, actually, Art, I'm going to give it a look. I mean, I'm curious. I'm hoping I'm going to like it. The trailer, though, that I saw, let me put it this way. Have you ever seen a fan film trailer or a fan film where the characters say lines of dialogue that sound really cringy and really, really cliched? The Ahsoka trailer sounded like a bad fan film trailer. The lines, once a rebel, always a rebel. You know, oh, we have to do this. It was just like, it just sounded generic and cringe.
Yeah. Okay.
It sounded generic and cringe. So I hope I'm wrong. We'll see, but I will check it out, Art. But I don't have high expectations.
I watched all those promos. I watched the trailer. I enjoyed. I understand that they need to find ways to, to try and continually promote the thing before it actually gets to the platform. And so, yeah, you got marketing people that are running their brains at 100 miles an hour, trying to figure out how do we market this thing? What key phrases can we pull out of these videos and use for promotional?
Yeah,
use?
but
and so I'm not that worried about it.
Okay, so here's the other thing, though, Ed. I think Natalie gets what I'm talking about, because it's like, again, every line in the trailer was a cliche, and all it was, literally, like I think 80 to 90% of that trailer was Ahsoka dueling with lightsabers with other characters. And it's like, I'm tired. I don't give a shit about the Jedi anymore. I don't. The Jedi in the prequels, the Rebels and everything else. You know what I did like? I really liked The Mandalorian. I really liked Andor. You know why?
Yeah.
Less about the Jedi, more about just like living in this amazing imaginative universe. And I'll tell you something else. I loved Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, she was good.
There were a lot of assholes who are like, oh, now it's the Mandalorian's going woke. It's like, no, it's not. Actually, that is a great, strong female character that fits within the context of the program perfectly. She was great. Yeah. So, this is not about bashing strong female characters or saying there's a place for them. It's. I'm getting a sense that Ahsoka, when I said Awoka, I didn't see one guy in that trailer aside from the villain. That's
I'm not letting that bother me either.
It's not bothering me, Ed, but it's like you. It just messages to me that, like, go ahead, get a word in.
I don't know how much of the animated series and how much of Ahsoka as a character you're familiar with before you've seen Rosario Dawson's version.
I'm familiar with her, and I know that she was Anakin's apprentice, and I did watch select episodes in the past, not even to get ready for Ahsoka, but I know who she was, and I know she's a beloved character.
She's an essential character, I think, in this entire going forward of the universe, because of all of the things that she had to go through during Rebels and all the other animated series that we got to this point. So with them telling all these other stories in these Disney Plus series, it kind of necessary to have a series of her, even if it's going to be a limited run series, because it fills in a lot of gaps. And I think from a storytelling standpoint, I think it's worthwhile to see where it goes. Now,
this is a post-Return of the Jedi story, though. It's not. It doesn't fill in gaps from the cartoon show. This is post-Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. So it's basically the same or similar timeline as The Mandalorian and the Boba Fett stuff that we've already seen. So Okay. All right. I'm not as critical about those things. Maybe I'm just not I watched them because the Star Wars were popcorn movies for me ever since I was a kid, and so I'm like, if they're just finding ways to tell little more pieces of the story that we're all familiar with, I'm interested in seeing where they're filling in the gaps and what kind of stories they're trying to tell. And yeah, there's going to be some cringy moments because partly they originally made these movies because they were trying to appeal to kids, and they did a lot of cliches back
They
in the
weren't all
70s and
dudes.
80s.
The original Star Wars movies were not just for kids. They say that now.
No, I'm not saying they're
okay.
just, but you have, when
Sit through the
you're
prequels and tell me they're for kids with all of the political intrigue that no kid would ever be able to wrap their minds around.
You're never gonna get sit through Bullwinkle and Rocky episodes and realize that they made those for kids and adults, and there are some things that are gonna go right over your head when you're a kid, and so you start watching, and then you watch them back as an adult, and like, oh, there's some jokes I missed. That's kind of how I picture some of these movies that they're making. It's like, they're trying to capture or hold on to the wonder that you had when you saw these things as a kid, but also they understand that adults are watching this stuff too.
I don't think they're trying to hold on to present the wonder as much as just continue to milk the cash cow. Let me go back a step though. Okay. Do you know why I didn't like Boba Fett?
Why?
So as much as I love The Mandalorian, there was a Boba Fett movie in development that got canceled, and then The Mandalorian was created. I guarantee you, the storyline we saw in The Mandalorian, as great as it was probably originally conceived for Boba Fett, which makes a lot more sense. I'm because what they did with Boba Fett as a character in his own series, it's like that's not a logical evolution of Boba Fett's character after he escaped that creature in the desert. The Mandalorian, Din Djarin, when he finds Grogu, the infant Jedi that he's tasked with killing, and he ends up bonding with the child and protecting it, that would have been a much more logical character arc for Boba Fett after the Return of the Jedi, given that Boba Fett was an orphan. He was, he escaped death, and maybe discovering this child, a Jedi who he'd always been what's the word, trained to like kill, touches something in him as an orphan himself to decide, I don't care that this child is a Jedi. There's no reason for me to kill it. I'm going to protect it.
So you're saying you're thinking the Mandalorian was possibly
repurposed.
a repurposed Boba Fett script.
So, because
I can see that.
And they brought Boba Fett into the Mandalorian, and it's like, okay, cool. At least we got in the Mandalorian. Boba Fett was great. But then when they spun him off into his own show, it just felt so inauthentic to who Boba Fett was as we knew him in the original movies, and as he kind of revealed himself in The Mandalorian, despite the fact they couldn't give Fett Din Djarin's story. I feel like we missed an opportunity to see a more organic, authentic character arc for the character of Boba Fett. I wish that, that property had been developed in a way that keeping Boba Fett, as opposed to the other reason Disney decided to create The Mandalorian. It's a brand new property. George Lucas still gets paid when even though he sold Lucasfilm to Disney, he still gets a chunk anytime they use one of his original characters. So Disney, in deciding to go forward with, Din Djarin and it's a lot of the other characters that they've created while leaving the original trilogy characters behind, is Disney's opportunity to hoard more of the money that they're making for what they're producing.
I appreciate your insight on that. I'm just like, well, in general, Jerry's just saying he would have done it differently.
They were going to do it differently. They were going to, and I think in a more, to me, more. I was always looking forward to a continuation of Boba Fett's story because he was so wasted in the original trilogy. It's like, oh, we're introducing this great bounty hunter adversary, and then he dies in Return of the Jedi because they've got nothing else to do with him. So the opportunity to bring him back and explore him more, the Boba Fett series is. I know you subvert expectations and present things that you don't expect, but I think that the direction of The Mandalorian was more organic to how I would have imagined Boba Fett evolving we had a chance to see his character after Return of the
Yeah,
Jedi.
well, I gotta say the Boba Fett series was not what I was I was expecting it to go, and so, but I was pleasantly surprised in that they decided to tell a completely out of left field story of his redemption arc, and I'm like,
I wanted to see him redeemed, but even Tamura Morrison has done interviews, Ed, where he wasn't happy with how the whole.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it. It was a paycheck. I mean, luckily because Jango Fett is the face of all the clones, this guy's got an endless paycheck. Certainly, he's not going to turn down doing a Boba Fett series, but he was doing a convention and he wasn't happy with himself with the evolution of what they did with his series because, even to him, the actor, it wasn't as organic as he hoped.
Yeah, well, they just kind of made him sheriff of the town, kind of. Like, well, I mean, that was a little formulaic, sure.
Well, it's like adverse to like who he was, how he was brought up by his father, what he did. A bounty hunter, a redemptive. Well, they did it with Din Djarin as the Mandalorian. He was a bounty hunter. You can imagine what if Din Djarin had been Boba Fett. You can see that play out logically and be like, yeah, I can imagine that's the story. That's the redemption arc Boba Fett could have had. A character we already knew, but didn't have the opportunity to see that type of redemption arc. So they decided, well, we still got Boba Fett, so let's create this other story that I just didn't feel was very authentic to what we knew of him before. So there's our Star Wars talk.
Yeah,
I'm sure Kathy's already checked out.
We had a full show. We did Star Trek and Star Wars talk and Snow White talk.
And Ed thought this was going to be an hour and a half show. We're now at 3 hours.
Well, I didn't really plan for our normal show palooza, but I gave us enough breathing room where we could basically talk about whatever we wanted to alongside some of the stories I had gathered. So I think actually this is a pretty good mix. It's a little less pressure if I'm not trying to rush through every single story in the show notes. So I think we're just going to have to cut back on some of the things and pick and choose the ones we want to focus on. And there will be stories that we'll probably just mention and bring up and talk about anyway, just because we happen to see it happen in the news cycle and it's something to spend a couple minutes talking about. But I think this is a pretty good balance.
I think we also made up for our absence last Friday with doing more tonight.
Yeah, I missed all you guys out there. I know you guys missed us. I don't know how well you were aiming, but you missed, you bastards. See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
So with that said, I would like to wish you all a pleasant evening. Take care of each other. Drink plenty of fluids. Man, if you're in Chicago or anywhere where there's a heat wave going on in the next couple days, keep yourselves properly hydrated. Stay as cool as you can. Don't overexert yourselves in high heat situations. That's not good for anybody. And come and find us on Friday evenings, around 7:30 p.m. Central. Give or take a minute. Oreo needs to get pretty before we go live. So looking for the button. Oh, that's right. It's on the other thing. So we moved a few buttons around and I'm still getting used to them, but I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Uncle Warren confirms that they did not cancel the Snow White reboot.
Yeah, I saw that, Warren. You're right. I corrected myself. Apparently someone was spreading some wish fulfillment.
Yeah. So, but it's still early. They may still change their minds on how they're going to release that thing to the world. But I want to thank you all for joining us. Tune in on Friday when Jerry's steering the ship, preferably toward the nearest space station and not into a supernova or something. And
you and me both, Warren.
Yeah. I'm like, how many Snow White reboots do we really need, honestly?
With insufferable cringe actresses who have no sense of what they're ruining. God, I sound like a get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn, kids! Or at least water it first. Do we have lawns? No.
I have a lawn in front. I mow my lawn.
There is a small lawn near the parking area where I live, and honestly, we should just turn that into extra pavement so we don't have such problems parking our cars next to other people's cars. But that's just my opinion. Although it's nice to have, bare feet on grass from time to time.
Thanks also to our viewers on Rockfin. We have 3 currently watching, and Dick on Rockfin was contributing a lot to the live chat there. So thanks for watching us there too. You can always tip us on YouTube or Patreon or Rockfin if you are so.
Yes. And also, if you're purchasing merchandise from our merch store, you can donate to us single-time donations through there as well.
All right, Ed. So we will be back Friday.
We'll be back Friday. Come find us at ChicagoCornerTV.com and the other places in the universe. Have a pleasant evening.
In the interwebs.
And don't come back.
You were saying, have a pleasant evening.
In the interwebs, in the tubes of the interwebs, we will return from the tubes of the interwebs.
Yes,
there's a bunch of tubes behind this interwebs.
The internet is a series of tubes, I am told.
Who was it that said that? Some geriatric octogenarian congressperson thought
Some
the internet
old
was
dude in Congress.
Series of tubes.
So make sure you travel through those series of tubes and rejoin us on Friday evening when Jerry will be guiding you through all of the tubes.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. If you would like to be a guest on Chicago Corner, please email our host, Jerry, at chicagocorner.tv.